Guilty of crime.
Well, that was fun. Hello, everybody. What's up? Hopefully, y'all can hear me and see me okay. I am Jay with Guilty of Crime, and we're back. Come on in, guys. It is definitely one of those Mondays. Y'all, what do you guys know about this case? All right, first, let's come on in, guys. Let's do our thing. I'll say hello, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't, get a membership if you can. This is who we're talking about today. Utah versus Kouri Richins. What you need to know about the case, even if you already started watching the trial or not. I'm going to tell you what's led up to this, the timeline, and some things that y'all probably missed because this has been happening for years. I hope that you guys realize that this case actually happened back in 2022, I believe. All right, February of 2022 is when Kouri started messing around and telling her husband she wants a divorce just weeks before she had allegedly poisoned him on Valentine's Day. All right, we're going to go through everything you need to know. If you know about this case or you don't, that means you'll be able to watch the trial in peace. All right, you'll watch it in peace and you'll know what's going on. You'll say, damn, I didn't realize all of that had happened. Now, this is the victim and the children, but you got to remember, Kouri Richins was a grief author. She was writing a book, a children's book, to deal with children's when their parents are taken too soon, so that you can say, Daddy's still with you. Daddy's at the soccer game. Well, that book put her in quite a predicament. So, grief author, poisoning allegations, and shocking trial updates and things that you didn't think might get in. If you know about the walk the dog letter, I'm going to give you a little bit of that. So basically, I'm going to get you caught up to speed and then we'll do a recap of what in the hell is going on in the Kouri Richins case, what made it into court and what didn't make it into court. All right. Now, that happens many times. Women choose poison as their method to kill whoever they want to. It's a typical thing. It's not typically a gun. It's not typically a knife. It's typically poison. That's one of the highest rated, I would say highest, largest amount of ways a woman will kill her spouse or boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, is with poison as a female. All right. And this guy, Eric Richins, we need justice, not just for Eric Richins, but she didn't just take his life. She royally tried to screw him and his entire family over. I didn't even know this, guys. I didn't even know that she had a boyfriend. When this all first started, we saw her on this show saying, I'm a grief author. I'm so great. I'm reading this to my boys so they know daddy's always with us. But really what it was she was taunting the family members that had already thought that she was the person behind it because, well, Eric Richins was telling friends and family that Kouri was trying to kill him and he thought that was going to happen. All right. So we'll get into all this. Let's say hi to you guys. Just so that's the Eric justice for Eric Richins and the Richins family. The boys need justice, the family, the sister. Kouri even got into a boxing fight with the sister, if y'all remember. All right, let me say hello to everyone and see who knows this case so that I'm not being too redundant. All right, let's say hello and see whoever started this off. My pastor calls me. Remember, for 19 months. So glad that you're here for 19 months and you found us as well. And Cool and Chris, you rock. Thank you so much for the Guilty of Crime membership. You guys know I got a stack of books here. We're getting ready to do Foxy boxes with those, etc. All right, so there is our victim right there, Eric Richins. If you don't know much about this case, put a 1 in chat if you know enough about this case to kind of move forward enough to maybe start the trial. Are you watching it? Put a 2 if you want me to give you everything up until and then today. So 2 if you want more information because you just didn't know about it and now you're watching the trial. 1 if you're like, dude, Jay, we don't need this. I already know what's up. 1, all right? Hit 1 if you know already what's up and you're like, I don't need a lesson in history. I got this. Or 2 if you need to know. All right, I thought so. I was thinking so because I covered this case. What's up, Squeaky Will? I covered this case a couple of times, and I have a playlist. My hair is crazy today. It's Crazy Hair Monday. All right, and guys, I was covering this case so hard, and the reason I was covering it so hard is because this kind of case is ones that me, Jay from Guilty of Crime, particularly likes to follow, and I don't always present these cases that I follow to you. So these are one of the cases that I follow, and we've got a whole lineup this week. My goodness, there may be some breaking news in the Guthrie case real soon as well. So come on in, guys. I know Kouri Richins is all over the place, and you guys might have voted for the American Idol killer, which we're going to get to as well. Promise you, and the other ones I posted, we're going to do all of them. So welcome in. Welcome. All right, so a lot of people don't know exactly what's going on. We just started, so luckily, whoever's here is here. Cool and Chris, Jen's a Gypsy, Tony B, Marie Joy, Tony. All right, Edith, what's up, girl? Good to see you. Tara, Betty Summers, Deborah Bush, Chief Rock is not cheating on me on other channels today. Kel, what's up, girl? How you doing? Mama Sage, hit that like button, guys. You know the drill. Arrow the Garden, you're absolutely welcome. My pleasure to introduce Kouri Richins, the not so smart criminal that really, I believe, they say it's going to take a month for this trial, but I think if it takes a month, I got to tell you, she's going to be pretty humiliated by all the evidence that is coming in that the judge is letting come in. And you guys, she had Sky Lazaro originally. Sky Lazaro was her original freaking dog and when I say she's a dog, Sky Lazaro's a freaking bulldog. All right. She's a freaking bulldog, and she had Sky Lazaro, and Sky Lazaro dropped her ass like a bad habit. I'm going to start this off just with a 3-minute what we're talking about today, Utah versus Kouri Richins grief author murder trial. Let's get into it, and then I'll go back and read to you. Utah's highest profile trial began today, and what you need to know before getting into this trial. All right. And if you're tired, don't worry. I'm here to give you some energy. We're ready to go. I've got my Red Bull in one hand and my puffer in the other. And I just got off of work after working a full day. So yeah, come on. Come on, Jay. I'm pumping myself up. Y'all pump me up to be here. Let's go. All right. Thank you so much, Clark. I love you. I texted you back yesterday. I hope you're good. And anybody that texts me, if I don't text you guys back for a few days, please know that I'm not mad at you or anything like that. I just have a lot on my plate, but I do appreciate you guys, love you, and the support is tremendous that I get here. All right, and you've always been missed. You're always missed, Melissa. Always missed. Clar, Mama Pearl says hello, Clar. All right, let's just put this quick clip on to see how this fake Beezy did this, and then you're gonna see what she did, and even things that you didn't realize she did. She did. I'm also gonna pull out her charging documents, y'all. By the time we're done, I think she's going to be convicted in the public eye. This woman is a monster, an absolute monster. I have not seen anybody so conniving and so manipulating as this smiling woman next to me. I'm telling you, that is why I'm so glad that I've been married or almost 21 years with my wife, married almost 18. I'm so glad because you don't want to pick one up like that. I'll tell you, that lady frightens me. She is so evil, so manipulating. And I mean, she was semi-attractive. Not anymore. Let's go.
Like I said, I'll just let the detective explain when they get here, okay?
April 13th, 2022, Kouri Richins is...
I hope you guys heard that. April 13th, 2022. This is the day before Valentine's Day. All right. And you've got this perfect mom, perfect house, perfect money. But wait a minute. Let's look a little bit deeper. All right. Yeah, probably. I mean, at least you're alive, Arrow. This lady is the epitome of evil on every level.
Detained by Summit County Police as they execute a search warrant of her home. Richins is the Utah mother who wrote a children's book about grief after the sudden death of her husband, Eric.
Evil.
Can you just call my mom?
I just need to sit with you here until they get here.
Investigators had just determined that Eric Richins died from a fentanyl overdose the month before, and they were looking for the source of the illicit drug.
Need some air?
No, I'm right in front of my neighbor's house. Like, this is so embarrassing. I want any air.
Now, listen, there's going to be so many other things that are going to come out. She thinks this is embarrassing. Oh, my goodness. I was watching some of the videos today of her trying to fake her grief as she sat on those stairs. And she's the most pathetic, evil person that I know. And I hope that every time she sees herself or sees us talk about her, that she gets embarrassed every day, every night. I hope she thinks about what her children now have to go through without not only losing one parent, but two, because she had to be so selfish, money motivated, and just a nasty, cheating bitch. Excuse my language, but I don't have anything else to say about a monster like that. Thank you, Cool and Chris. Choo choo. We're going to be here for a while, guys. Buckle up.
Eric Richins was 39 years old when he died. Prosecutors say that Kouri, his wife, poisoned him by putting the drug in his drink. She denies the allegations and claims that Eric had a drug problem and accidentally ingested the fatal dose himself.
You understand you have the right to testify at this preliminary hearing, correct?
Correct.
Are you following your attorney's advice and waiving that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Kouri and Eric were married in 2013. They were married for almost 9 years and had 3 young sons together. Kouri was working at a Home Depot when they met, but after they married, Eric helped her start a real estate agency. Eric was the co-owner of a stone masonry firm.
It was a good business. They were very well respected.
And, you know, a lot of people got lost at this part of it. I kind of did. I was really, really invested. Again, we're in 2026, guys. This happened in 2022. I've covered this case since then. If you go to my playlist, you'll probably laugh at my thumbnails because it was me when I was first starting to become a YouTuber and trying to figure out my style. I was so into this case. And then something else would come, and then something, and then it would just stop, guys. It happened in 2022. We're in 2026, and day one of the trial started, and it's not looking good for this evil monster. So I'm glad you guys are here. I want everybody to know about what she did to her husband and those kids. I'm going to pull those charging documents out next, guys. Just wait. It's a lot more than you think. This lady was not only a cheater, a murderer, a liar, but she was also a huge thief. My goodness. How could you tell?
In the community, and he was very well off. He had done quite well.
The day of their wedding, they signed a prenuptial agreement that stipulated,
which rightfully so. You meet somebody, especially, and I'm not trying to say anything bad, but you got this guy on the way up that has family money, and you meet this cute chick that's, scanning some shit at Home Depot, and you think, wow, she's gorgeous. Like, we're clicking here, but, I don't want my money to get got if she's a gold digger. So there you go. But no, Kouri finds her way around that. All right. She finds her way around that.
That Kouri would have no claim to Eric's business if they divorced. But if he died while they were still married, she could claim half of the company.
It was clear from their prenup and from other contracts and wills and things that they found that he was unfortunately worth much more to her dead than divorced.
Eric was a Mormon and a graduate of the University of Utah. He was an avid outdoorsman who loved hunting and fishing.
Eric was a family man who always strove to be the absolute best father and husband. He was an attentive and loving father to his 3 sons and a devoted husband to his wife of almost 9 years, Kouri, the defendant.
Investigators say there's evidence that Kouri and Eric's marriage was in trouble during the years before Eric's death. According to court documents, he had met with a divorce attorney and set up a trust in.
Now remember, I've covered this case, so if you guys need more details and you're like, Jay, you're going too fast, which I don't think you will because you're used to me blasting you with stuff. I have a playlist. You guys can go back and get the details, but I'm just trying to give you the full layout. They met, they fell in love, allegedly, and this bitch knew, and I'm sorry to keep saying that, but Kouri Richins, the way she looks and the way she acts are 2 different things. And every time she talks, she lies, in my opinion. And as y'all know, I have a son. And boy, would I hate for my son to meet a woman like that. All right. Squeaky Will says Kouri Richins original. Yes, Sky Lazaro dumped her. I know. I covered it. I said she's done for. Sky Lazaro said that she couldn't represent her officially only because it was a conflict of interest that she was helping other family members. But we know that's not the case. We know that walk the dog letter is what Sky Lazaro went packing. Sky's a bulldog. Sky might have got her way less time. Now I think she's pretty screwed, guys.
In order to protect his assets from Kouri, and she allegedly was having an affair. Kouri Richins' family stands behind her, and they say there's no way she had anything to do.
Which I want you to know, the affair that she was having was with a handyman that looked almost similar to her actual husband, but I don't think her affair was of a loving nature. I think it was like, hey, I just need to get my rocks off and you're not my husband. So, oh, and by the way, can you help me get some pills to take my husband's life? Yeah, the 911 call. Oh.
With her husband Eric's death.
My sister, she can't even squash a spider. She loved Eric. She loved her family more than anything.
All right, yeah, right. She loved her family more than anything. All right, let's stop and pull this down. My internet's a bit slow,
Emotions, as you know, are running high tonight.
but we're not covering that right now. Let me pull this down. All right, we're going to go through this real quick because I need you to see everything in case you missed it, because I certainly did. So she actually was called the Moscow Mule Killer originally. They've changed her name a couple of times. As I look back at my playlist, I'm like, wait a minute, this case has shifted tremendously as it has progressed. Things start leaking. And yeah, they called her the Moscow Mule Killer because Kouri Richins allegedly, Kouri Richins' lover, unmasked, Utah author wanted to start a new life with her handyman, Robert Grossman, who ended up homeless after Kouri evicted him. Now, listen, in a new court filing seen by Daily Mail, prosecutors revealed Kouri Richins, 34, was having an affair with handyman Robert Grossman, 41. Now, when she originally was arrested, we knew nothing about a romance. But what we did know was that she was stealing money and accused of the fentanyl and the Moscow Mule. Right? As this progressed, we realized she had a boyfriend. Now, the romance began when her husband Eric Richins in March 2022 death and continued for months after until Kouri evicted Grossman from her property. Now, you'll see him in a second. Grossman wound up homeless, living in a black Ford F-150 pickup truck in Layton, Utah, and had several run-ins with the law since. I'm betting that they're going to bring him in as a witness. Now, she was called the accused Moscow Mule killer because of the way that Eric Richins died. All right. But after that, she accused Moscow Mule. Kouri Richins wanted her husband dead so she could move on with the man who ended up homeless later on in the streets of Utah. Now, I don't think that is the motive. I absolutely think it's financial, 110%. But I think she was trying to use him as a pawn to get rid of her husband. Now, she says, if I was divorced right now and I ask you to marry me tomorrow, would you? Richins texted her lover in February 2022, just weeks before she allegedly poisoned her husband, Eric, according to the documents filed by the prosecution. So again, her husband was out of the way. Once he was out of the way, she didn't need this chump anymore. So I bet you we're going to see him testifying. Okay, look, there's Sky Lazaro. That was her original bulldog. She says, I just want to lay on the couch and cuddle with you, watch a murder documentary and snuggle. Now, 2 weeks later, she texted Grossman, her boyfriend, life is going to be very different, I promise you, adding, I hate your hard days. I wish I could be there to turn them around for you. Can I try on Friday? Give me a few days. Hang in there until then, please. Right? So this was her initially. By the way, she just completely broke out. I don't know if you saw that. We were kind of making fun of her. I have some things today, too, that I downloaded for you guys that were in court that I didn't even realize. So hold on. Let me see if I can find that so I can pull it up in a second before I continue on and on. I got some pictures today and I was like, oh my goodness. They just hadn't been released, obviously. So it was things from the trial. So I'm going to go over some of that stuff today as well once I'm done laying down the foundation of this case. So anyway, she looks really terrible here. She has bad skin as it is, and she was trying to hide her face. But in these ones, they got her. So later on down the line, it worked. Kouri Richins, pictured in June 2023, revealed to be having an affair with another man before and after her husband's death in March 2022. All right, let's continue to look some more of the pictures. Richins, who's charged with poisoning husband Eric Richins with a laced cocktail, was romantically involved with the handyman Robert, who later ended up being homeless and having several run-ins, like I told you earlier. Now, if you look at her husband and you look at her handyman, there's a picture of them side by side. They look very similar. Of course, he looks more, kept up and such, but he's got the kind of red hair, the Irish skin, the beard. I mean, he's not that much different from what her husband looked like. I think she was just using him as a complete and total pawn. All right. Okay, Grossman told detectives who owns a real estate company had kicked him out of the condo in Saratoga Springs in November, and he had been homeless ever since. Prosecutors say Kouri wanted to leave her husband and consulted with a divorce attorney January 22nd, but left disappointed that she might be entitled to only half of their assets. Who wants half when you could just poison your husband and take them all, right? And then write a book and make money off of it. So Kouri from Kama in Utah, she had been charged with poisoning Eric by serving fentanyl. I'm going to show you the charging documents because there's a lot more. To me, this is fake AF, and that is just her fake smile. I don't think she had any love for this man at all, ever. Children gave her the protection to not get kicked out. All right. And I'm glad that their faces are covered. All right. Eric Richins for the Paramour. According to the affidavit, Kouri wished to leave Eric for her paramour, but believed the divorce would be financially difficult and she would result in losing custody. I don't think that's the case at all, because after she killed Eric, she kicked out homeboy and said bye. So that's not true. All right. Now, this was the house she was working on, guys. This was the big deal. This was like almost to the day that Eric said, I'm pissed. You're spending too much money. We're in debt. Now, prior to his death, the couple had fought over financial issues in regards to this 10-acre, $2 million home, and signed an agreement that would grant her the sale of the home. But he didn't agree to any of that. All right. And it was already at a loss. So we start off financially. Now, Kouri planned a 5-night, $4,200 romantic getaway in St. Martin in the Caribbean. Court papers do not make it clear whether they actually went ahead with the trip set for the month after Eric died. Remember, the first time she tried to kill him, they were on a trip where he was out hunting. All right. And then Carmen. Okay. So you're going to see her. Carmen Lauber, 51, worked for the Richins family and said she had sold Kouri Richins the fentanyl that she allegedly used to poison Eric Richins. All right. A stupid move. She used her housekeeper to get pills, and she also asked her what you call a paramour. All right. Did you put makeup on her in your thumbnail? No, she put makeup on because her face is all cleared up by now. All right. Anyway, let's continue. We'll get caught up pretty quickly. The mom of 3 accused of slipping potent drugs into a sandwich bought him at the diner in their hometown first failed on February 14th, 2022. So happy Valentine's Day, honey. Here's a fentanyl sandwich, but it didn't kill him. But he reached out to others and said that he thought she was trying to. Right. Then we've got this author grief. Remember, the lady said she gave the worst vibe. She wouldn't take her jacket off. She was closed off. This is what got her. Law enforcement was already looking at her as a suspect due to the lies that didn't add up in the household. And then she writes a children's books and self-promotes. Let's watch this for a second. If you don't remember, let's embarrass her just a little bit more.
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us. I'm Courtney Johns.
And I'm Emily Flores. We have breaking news this hour. Local children's book author charged with murder, 33-year-old Kouri Richins of Camas, is being held in the Summit County Jail with no bail. Now, she promoted her book on the grief on Good Things Utah. That's the video you're seeing here. This was about a month ago. Court documents today showing the murder happened in March of 2022. An online obituary showing her husband, 39-year-old Eric Richins, died that same month. Now, we are following this story and continuing to do so throughout the evening. We'll bring you the latest here on air and online at abc4.com.
All right. So
rise
again,
shine, die.
That kind of stuff is scary when we have kids in this world that have to meet people like her. All right. She sat there, she lied, she never took the jacket off, and the women were suspicious. Now, she was promoting her book. This is why they started calling her the grieving author and the Moscow Mule killer. We have 3 little boys, she told the interview, and my kids and I kind of wrote this book on different emotions and grieving processes. No, she was gloating, in my opinion, and now this was taken off. Now, we could do a whole deep dive into this. The things that she put in this book were so obvious that what she put, that she was the actual killer without saying it, and the things that she did. Anyway, that's a whole other episode. I've covered that before. So let's get down to the actual case so that we can start getting into the case breakdown and such. I'll give myself a little bit of so we're looking at her. This lady is a huge monster and momster because she took her children's father away. So we're gonna catch up, and then I'm gonna give you guys. I want you to hear what our legal team's saying, and then I'm gonna run down the timeline so we can get caught up real quick. All right. Her legal team releases a statement. Now remember, her team is now a public defender. I believe she ran out of money, and also she tried to pull the walk the dog. Does anyone remember the walk the dog thing? Let me know, because we're going to do about an 8-minute clip on the walk the dog that can absolutely help seal the deal in her in not in her favor, right?
Well, final preparations are happening for the murder trial of Kouri Richins. She's the chemist mom accused of killing her husband with a deadly dose of fentanyl. Her legal team released a statement on her behalf ahead of this trial set to start Monday. It reads, Kouri has waited nearly 3 years for this moment, the opportunity to have the facts of this case heard by a jury, free from the prosecution's narrative that has dominated headlines since her arrest. Now the state must prove allegations beyond a reasonable doubt. What the public has been told bears little resemblance to the truth. We welcome the courtroom where evidence is bound by rules, not sensational coverage. Kouri is a mother who wants to be home to her children. We are confident this jury will make that possible, again, from her lawyers there.
All right. Kouri's legal team ahead of time puts that statement out. It doesn't really mean much. Again, they're the team. Sorry, I meant to pull this up in a separate window. Let's take a look real quick here, because this was what happened today. And again, her face is cleared up. I don't know what it is that she's done, but she's not hiding her face. She's got it up. I'm going to read the charging documents and show you some things that ran into court today after I get through at the timeline. But check this out. This was from like an hour ago.
In Park City. Let's turn now to our Jake White, who is live in Park City. He's been monitoring this hearing all day. Jake, what can you tell us?
Yeah, thanks, Lindsay. Well, that trial started at around 8:30 this morning, right behind me here in Park City. Now, it's been hours long of testimonies and arguments between both the prosecutors and the defendants. Now, let's take a look at this video that was shown in the courtroom later this afternoon. It's interesting thing to point out is
I can't wait to keep you guys up to speed and going. I watched this today and I was like, this girl is done. You'll see. But we're getting snippets because I want you to know where we are so you can watch the rest of the trial and know what they're talking about.
the body cam footage. This comes after the sister of the late Eric Richin claimed that Kouri seemed shut off and not normal, as well as not comforting Eric's sister when falling to the ground. But that video seems to show the opposite. She was also asked questions about a prenuptial agreement signed right before their wedding.
Was it your understanding that she was surrendering any claim to his business at CNE in the prenuptial agreement?
Only if they divorced. If he died, then she would get the business while they were still married.
Right now, Kouri Richins faces the following charges, such as aggravated murder, 3 counts of possession with intent to distribute, attempted aggravated murder, 2 counts of mortgage fraud.
And that's her right there. I'm going to show you that this started out simply as and it's never simple, right? Eric Richins, it's never simple to say he was murdered simply. But once this case busted wide open, the charges just stacked. I mean, I haven't seen a charging document this large since we saw the Stephen Stearns documents and those 61 charges, etc. This is crazy. They're just going and going. And part of the trial, I don't believe, is even the financial portion of it. I think they're going to set another trial for that.
2 counts of insurance fraud, and 3 counts of forgery. Now, make sure to stay with us here at ABC4 as we'll be continuing to stay in that courtroom and bringing you the latest updates tonight at 5 and 6. But for now, live here in Park City, I'm Jake White reporting with ABC4 News.
Jake. Isn't that crazy, guys? I mean, this is just, I'm going to show you the charging document and we'll do the timeline. It's unbelievable the things that she was doing, the webs that she was weaving while she was with her husband. It's like she was almost planning all of this at the same time, right? Like she knew exactly what she was doing. She was very, it was very premeditated, put it that way. Let me make sure I'm sharing this right. I want to show you the charging document so that you know what she's being charged for and how much that weight is. So again, if it were simply murder charges and she had never done anything in the past, she might be able to get a little bit of a, okay, you might get 15 years with the possibility of parole. And yes, allegedly, it's all allegedly. That's all good. Thank you. Everything is at the beginning of my intro and at the end. This is my channel, my opinions. And in my opinion, these charges are pretty bad and they're a lot worse than I thought they originally were. I didn't even know she had that many charges. So we're looking at the state of Utah versus Kouri, and her last name was Darden. I believe it's her last name, Darden's Richins. She's still carrying. Judge Richard Mrazek. Okay. Undersigned prosecutor states on the information they believe the defendant either directly or as a party committed crimes of. First, they've got criminal homicide, aggravated murder. All right. That on or about March 3rd, 2022, in Summit County, state of Utah, the defendant did intentionally cause the death of another individual under any of the following circumstances. The actor committed homicide by means of administration of a poison or any lethal substance or any substance administered with a lethal amount. Furthermore, the defendant was a cohabitant with the victim. All right, I'm not going to read everything because a lot of it's just, violation codes, but the first one was criminal homicide, aggravated murder. Second, possession of a controlled substance with intent to distribute, which means she had a lot of it. Possession of a controlled substance with intent to distribute. Well, there's a second violation. So they've got 2 of them here, second-degree felony. So one was on or about January 2022, and the other one was from February. She did that multiple times. First, she got oxycodone or something, and then she wanted Oxycontin or something like that. I don't remember. I just know fentanyl. She got one, said it wasn't strong enough, and then got another. They're charging her with all that. Then we've got a third possession of a controlled substance with intent to distribute. Look at her buying all them drugs. All right. Controlled substance defendant did knowingly and intentionally possess, and they're scheduled 1 or 2. We see some stuff in here, but I don't know what gamma hydroxy acid is. It falls under. If anyone knows, let me know. I know that she tried hydrocodone, oxy, and then ultimately fentanyl. All right. So on the information supported in the statement on March 4th, 2022, remember, this is 2026. It's like 4 years later, guys. Okay. We're almost in March. So this is almost 4 years. Summit County Sheriff's deputy staff responded to the residents in Summit County on the report of an unresponsive male. When they arrived, they found Eric Richins, who is our victim here, on the floor at the foot of his bed. Life-saving measures were attempted, but Eric was declared deceased. All right. And when I'm reading these, none of this is allegedly. Okay. This is the document I'm reading. Everything I'm talking about, in my opinion, is all alleged. All right. So then we're good. Okay. Now you're going to see the body cam. Hopefully you saw it today. If not, you go back and watch it. When they arrived, they found Eric on the floor at the foot of the bed. Life-saving measures happened, but Eric was deceased. During the interviews with his deceased wife, the defendant Kouri Richins, she stated that at 2100 hours on March 3rd, she and Eric were celebrating the defendant's closing on a house for their business, where Eric consumed it while sitting in bed. She talked about the Moscow Mule. Defendant stated that she made Eric a Moscow Mule in the kitchen and brought it in the bedroom. The only people in the house were the defendant, Eric, and their children. Now, the defendant stated that she went to the bedroom, and shortly after, she went to sleep with one of the children in the child's bedroom because the kid was having a night terror. All right. The defendant, that what Kouri Richins then says, she awoke about 3 o'clock and came back to her and Eric's room. That was 3 a.m. I'm assuming. She felt Eric and he was cold to the touch. This is when the defendant calls 911. She tells law enforcement that when she left the room to go to her child's room, she had left the phone phone plugged in next to her room. And if anyone has the 911 call just solely that wants to hear it, you guys want to send me a link, cool, because she's quite the actress. Anyway, all right, so the defendant came in. Let me check in with you guys, make sure I'm not talking to myself and it didn't stop, all right? All right, do me a favor, hit that like button, guys, subscribe, get yourself a membership, all the things. All right, let's take a look at let's finish these charging documents so we can get to whatever else you guys need to know. All right, here it is. All right, so anyhow, she said she was in the kid's room when she went in there at like 3 a.m. He was cold. She called 911. On her phone, it shows that it was locked and unlocked multiple times, and also there was movement recorded on the phone. In addition, tolls on the defendant's phone shows that messages were sent and received during that time. These messages were deleted. So they know she wasn't sleeping. They know she was using her phone and moving around about the house. Now, following the autopsy and pursuant to the toxicology finding from the autopsy, it was determined that Eric died from an overdose of fentanyl. The medical examiner indicated that the level of fentanyl in Eric's system was approximately 5 times the lethal dosage. It's all that, and that was the OME. That's the opinion of the OME after evaluating Eric's gastric fluid contents, that fentanyl in his body was ingested orally. Now, if you guys know, she's trying to use it as Kouri Richins is using her defense that he was a drug addict and he took those himself. Now, after receiving the information about the toxicology, a search warrant was obtained for Eric and the defendant's residence. Mind you, Kouri's out there acting like a grieving mom, writing a book, which I believe there was a ghost writer. I don't think she did any of that book. Now, during the service of the search warrant, defendant's phone and computers were seized. Warrants were obtained for all electronic devices, and information from the devices was downloaded. When investigators downloaded defendant Kouri Richins' phone, several communications between defendant and CL were located. Now, CL was identified as an acquaintance of Kouri Richins, and police needed to check on her because CL revealed multiple counts of a possession of controlled substance with intent to distribute. You guys remember that her housekeeper got her the drugs for somebody at work? That's what she told them, right? So CL, the informant person, told the detective that sometime between December 2021 and February 2022, the defendant contacted her via text and asked if she could get the defendant some prescription pain medication for an investor who had a back injury. Now, within a few days, CL procured hydrocodone from her dealer, and the defendant told CL to leave the pills at the house. Defendant was flipping in Midway. Remember, Kouri was doing these house flipping, buying, selling, and she had gotten herself under water in debt, right? And she was trying not to drown. So what's the best thing to do? Kill your spouse, apparently, and life goes on. Now, that's the opposite. That's me being never do that, please. And may Eric get the justice he deserves. I think he will. Now, about 2 weeks later, the defendant contacted CL again, right? And said that her investor wanted something stronger. And you guys remember she asked for the Michael Jackson stuff. The defendant asked specifically for fentanyl, contacted the dealer in Ogden on February 11th, and procured 15 to 30 fentanyl pills. The defendant came to CL's home in Heber, and CL delivered the pills to the defendant and received $900 for them. 3 days later, Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2022, Eric and the defendant had a Valentine's Day dinner at their Kansas home, or Camas home, I'm sorry. Shortly after the dinner, Eric became very ill. Eric believed that he had been poisoned. Eric told a friend that he thought his wife was trying to poison him. Now, 2 weeks later, the defendant contacted CL again, and she asked for another $900 of fentanyl pills, right? Again on February 26th, and she procured them. Kouri Richins told CL to leave the pills at the outdoor fire pit of the Midway house where the cash was waiting for her. 6 days later, on March 4th, 2022, Eric was found dead of a fentanyl overdose. This information is based on the evidence obtained by these witnesses that they blocked out, signed, sealed, and delivered. Right? So those are the charges. She doesn't even have the other criminal charges on here right now, as far as changing documents, money, stealing money, etc., etc. That's going to have to come later. Right now, we're looking at criminal aggravated homicide and 3 counts of possession of a controlled substance. Okay? All right. So hope you guys are still here in it to win it. Come on, guys. What do y'all know about this case? She literally tried to lower the doses, but it didn't work. But he knew. Imagine had he not texted anybody. Think about that. All right, let me show you some of the stuff that went on today real quick, and then we're going to get to like what you're going to expect in the trial. 1 second. Let me pull this out. You guys, she's batty. She is batshit crazy, and she doesn't look like it, but she absolutely is. It's so wild that a monster can be hiding in plain sight like that. All right. So I was watching some of Emily Baker's. She's a lawyer. 111. Let's say a prayer for the Richins family. All right. For Eric Richins and the children and the family to get the justice they deserve. All right. So I'm just going to put this up real quick. I was watching Emily Baker to catch up today, and I just want to show you a couple of pictures and key points that I thought would be cool to point out for you. It'll get you interested if you haven't seen the trial. And if you have, well, then you're going to recap. All right. So let me get on this and zoom in because my eyes can't read that anymore. Just as of late, I can't see that good without bifocals. Oh no. All right. Where'd it go? Okay. Let me see if this is the, and if it changes. Yep, it did. Okay, here. Look at this. I want to read this to you. This was her writing in her diary, guys. All right. Imagine your husband, your husband that you love so much and have 3 children with. He passes away, and this is what you write in your diary. Okay, now this was today. This was brought into evidence. March 4th, 2022. We're going way back. 3:20 a.m. Remember what time she called 911, right? At 3 in the morning. She writes in her diary, I woke up from sleeping with Ashton and went to crawl back in my bed. It was dark and awkwardly quiet. Eric snores. She doesn't even spell right, by the way. She spelled quiet wrong, snores wrong. I thought you were smart, lady. No wonder you lost all your husband's money. Look at all those, killing me with those errors. All right, the point is she's writing in her diary to document what happened. Like she was writing a book or something. It was dark and awkwardly quiet. Eric snores more times than not. So I thought it was weird. I didn't hear anything. I crawled into bed and went on Eric's side of the bed, and I put my arm over him. He was cold, very cold. So I pulled the blanket up on him, but his body just felt so strange to me. It was heavy, is only word I can think of to describe it. So I nudged him and said, Eric, Eric, nothing. I kept nudging him and just remember the stiffness of his body. I jumped out of bed and ran and turned the lights on, and he was pale/yellow. Mouth was open, and something came over me that wasn't, an urge came over me that this wasn't good. Her urge that it wasn't good. So she grabbed her phone that she hadn't seen all night or used. And I'm going to show you something next, what she was looking up. I grabbed my phone and I called 911 and I ran up to Eric to see if he was breathing or had a pulse, but he just didn't. Panic had sunk in as I was talking to dispatch. She had me then pull Eric to the floor to do CPR. As much as I didn't want him basically falling on the ground, I pulled him as hard as I could to get him down and began CPR compressions until EMT arrived. They immediately, and then that was the end of what I got. Now, this is her paying attention in court. Hopefully y'all are still with me. This is, yes, dear Diartry, okay? She was writing, literally documenting herself an alibi. But she's an idiot. And number one, she's one of the most evil people I've ever seen in my life. I hope to never meet her. She's conniving and she's disgusting. And she's just an awful human being. And this is her in court today acting like, looking at the jury like, I'm a grieving widow. Not good. Not good. I'm glad she's streaming that, Mo. Good to hear. I'm getting everybody caught up on everything they need to know. And I've been covering this case, so I just thought, hey, Nancy Guthrie doesn't need any coverage right now, and we need new cases. All right, so this one I wanted to also, I forgot because it was marked. On this one, she's listening, calling 911 at least 15 minutes. The evidence will prove that Kouri Richins had a guilty conscience. So she waited for a while until she called 911, and then she did. All right. And I don't think she ever did compressions. I think that they had ruled out that she had done any of that. All right. And then you look at this was presented in court today. This is what she's texting as her husband is dying and she's waiting for whatever to go on. If someone is poisoned, what does it go down on a death certificate as? Now, remember, this is Kouri's phone, and this is Emily Baker's. Thank you, Emily Baker. She's a lawyer, and I like how she breaks stuff down. Can cops force you to do a lie detector test? Women, Utah prison. Luxury prisons for rich in America. By the way, she thought she was rich. She got the high-paying, she got that high-paid shark attorney, right? She got Sky Lazaro, and Sky Lazaro's a shark. All right, so this isn't looking good for her already, guys. And good to see you guys. I hope everyone comes in and is into what I'm streaming today. They also found these on her phone. She was sending these memes all while 911 was happening and while her husband was dead and all the things. This is what she was doing on her phone. She was sending memes, and they didn't say to who, but she was sending memes like this. It says, I'm really rich. And it's Donald Trump, a meme. And then she says, idiots everywhere. Like she's mocking the police. And then this one's from Dumb and Dumber where they got the money and he's kissing it. Medical examiners and Kouri Richins' phone. The following 3 images are accessed. All right. So there you go. She's doing this while medical examiner and all the things are going on. That's what she's doing, and that's what she's sending, guys. That's what she is doing, all while trying to look like, I'm so innocent. I'm so innocent. But look at it, think again. All right. What's up, Nina? Good to see you, my friend. Clue and Chris then wanted to go to a rich girl prison. She thought she was. All right. So let's take a look quickly at the timeline, and we're going to get into everything else that y'all need to know. All right. This is one of Utah's highest profile murder trials begins Monday. Now, this is February 22nd. This came out yesterday, and I'm just going to quickly run through some of the key points. All right. Since we went through a lot of the stuff, and we will be as well. All right. Eric and Kouri Richins were raising 3 boys in Kansas. She flipped houses in Summit County, and he ran a successful masonry business. After Eric died unexpectedly in 2022, Kouri then wrote that children's book about grief, which she later promoted on Channel 4, Good Things in Utah. Prosecutors say behind the scenes, Kouri had schemed to kill her husband with a lethal dose of fentanyl. All right. The long-awaited trial, guys, this came from yesterday, began yesterday, turning the nation's appetite for true crime stories to Utah. Richins, now 35, faces 5 felony charges. 1 count of aggravated murder, 1 count of attempted aggravated murder, 2 counts of insurance fraud, and 1 count of forgery. All right. Ahead of the trial, her lawyer said in a statement, mother who wants to go home to her children, and we're all confident the jury will make that possible. I don't think so, guys. Kouri has waited nearly 3 years for this moment, the opportunity to have the facts in this case heard by a jury, free from the prosecution's narrative that has dominated the headlines since her arrest. Now, just remember the financial issues. Here's what the prosecutors are alleging in the case. All right. I'm not going to read everything, but financial issues is one of them. And then on the timeline, guys, we're in 2026. When we go back to October 13th during COVID 2020, Eric told an estate planning lawyer that he wanted to protect himself, recently discovering ongoing abuse and misuse of his finances by none other than Kouri Richins. So 2 years before his death, he was already complaining and worried about her stealing money, fraudulently buying things, and just rapidly spending and going into debt. I hope she does. I'm not quite sure what's going to happen with the case, but she's got a lot, and I mean a lot of evidence against her. Kouri from Home Depot cashier to wife to jail girlfriend. I love it. I love it. Yeah, she's gonna be a rich girl prison, all right. She's already not. She lost the best attorney that would have fought for her and probably got her not the LWOP. All right. So 2 years prior to that, he's already on to things. He removed Kouri as his beneficiary for the $500,000 life insurance. All right. He had already transferred his home and company's interest into his sister's name, Kate Richin Benson, according to the documents. So 2 years prior, Kouri didn't know that she didn't have life insurance or any of his assets. They're going to the sister. Hence, Kouri Richins being in the same room with the sister, and the sister trying to get to the safe to get the documents. Kouri Richins punches Eric's sister in the face. Does everyone remember that? I hope you guys do. Yes. And you know what? If you truly love your spouse, you don't kill them. And if you really don't like them, just get a freaking divorce. Save us a whole bunch of time and money. Okay? Because this is crazy. Crazy. She kind of reminds me of that crockpot Sarah Boone. I can't quite figure out why. It has something to do with her demeanor. Well, because they act like their shit don't stink, but it smells like boo hoo hoo. I'm gonna start singing freaking. I'm gonna start singing rap. I'm gonna start rapping if you don't stop. All right, a lot of justice incoming. I agree. All right, let's run through this so I just want you guys to know what the backstory. Okay. So 2 years prior, he had already been on to her. He thought she was overspending. They're fighting over money. Now, June 29th, 2021, to obtain a loan, prosecutors say Richins submitted falsified bank statements to a financial institution, hence all of the charges. Okay. So that was a huge red flag. Then a couple months later in August, she submitted another falsified bank statement to another financial institution to obtain a loan. Now, she said she was in the process of separation from her husband. That didn't happen. That never happened. Now, December 2021, Richin told someone that he felt sick or stuck and trapped in her marriage, and it would be better if Eric died. Prosecutors allege. So it's probably in the text messages or one of the witnesses. Now you fast forward January 29th, 2022, and Kouri Richins applied for life insurance for Eric and named herself as the sole beneficiary according to the charging documents. Eric had no affiliation with this account and his signature was forgery. So that's why I want you to understand the charges. If you don't understand the forgery charges and the financial, that's what we're talking about. This man right here that was making a lot of money and just wanted to have his family, his wife, his boys. She didn't want that. You're right, 317. She's straight up a gold digger. That's it. That's it. But the power got to her. And I believe the evil in her crept in every single day that she saw what wasn't hers. Katie's testimony was extremely, and it should be. Thank you for letting us know, Mo. If y'all are watching it, thank you. All right. His death. All right. Eric Richins' death. He obviously say a prayer that he gets the justice he deserves. He didn't need any of this. He shouldn't have gone through this. She should have just got a divorce. She didn't love him. February 11th, we have 3 days before Valentine's Day, and she's over there purchasing fentanyl to get rid of her husband. Now you go a couple days forward to Valentine's Day, and Kouri makes her husband a sandwich, and he starts to feel sick. So Eric tells his close friend that he believes his wife tried to poison him. This is a big telltale on what's going to happen in this case. He said he felt like he was going to die. And that's in the charging documents. He didn't have food allergies or anything like that. Then February 26, 2022, Kouri's acquaintance purchased additional fentanyl after she said the earlier pills weren't strong enough in the charging documents. Now fast forward to March 4th and Richins calls 911 to report her husband wasn't breathing, right? We just went over that. So then, guys, she's in the clear. The year following Eric's death, this is her. She's out there. She's like, I'm the grieving, strong mom. You guys, this is how you do it. If your husband dies, you do this, you do that. I'm so great. Let me go on these shows and get in my 15 minutes of fame. All while being a thief and a murderer. Holly, member for 11 months, one more month to a year, and we love you as a mod. Thank you. I missed something here. Did I miss something here? I got Holly, member for 11 months, and then Holly with the $2 super sticker. Thank you, girl. I appreciate you. And it's nice to have you guys. We only have 113 people here today, but I feel like I have y'all's attention. I agree with Red Winery. And if you guys have questions, just ask, because this is simply a case that's taken a long time to get to trial. All right. Now, listen, this is March 6, 2022. Kouri Richins literally assaulted Eric Richins' sister, Amy. Eric's sister, after a disagreement about the home and the charging documents allege, a lawyer told Kouri that Eric placed the home into a trust in Eric's sister's name, and she was the trustee. Oh, that pissed her off. Police told Richins that her husband died of a fentanyl dose on April 13th. And then April 16th, Richins had used a cell phone to research what happens to deleted messages. How do police and forensic analysis recover deleted data? and signs of being under federal investigation. She also had read an article titled Cause of Death. Usually does not impact life insurance payment according to the charging documents. Now, by June 6th of 2022, Richins is using the same cell phone to research what is the lethal dose of fentanyl and how long do life insurance companies take to pay. All right, so she's still out running around acting like the good grieving wife. March 2023, Kouri publishes a children's book about grief titled Are You With Me? The book's description states it's written by a loving mother who personally faced the challenges and is designed to offer comfort and solace to the young minds, according to Google. By the way, Amazon and every person pulled the book off the shelf when she was charged and arrested. All right, dumb. So now she's arrested. She's on the show, and days later, May 8th, she's charged with aggravated murder and 3 counts of possession of a controlled substance. And we now know the charges have been upped. Fast forward to June 2025, Richins was then charged with 5 counts of mortgage fraud, forgery, issuing a bad check, etc. Now, this case is separated from the murder charges, guys. So I want you to understand that you're not going to see those charges, but she's going to be like Lori Vallow and have to have a separate trial. So we're going to see her again, unless she pleads, right? She might just say, screw it, I'm doing LWOP, I'm going to plead. Now, October 6, 2025, prosecutors amended the charges, and they are what we have now, okay? Aggravated murder, 2 counts of insurance fraud, and 1 count of forgery. Okay, now we're all brought up to date, and now let's talk about everything we need to know about the Richins case. Thank you, Cool and Chris. That says choo-choo. All right, let me bring you to this, and then we'll see where we land. This is literally, and I love these guys, Courtroom Confidential, literally everything you need to know about the Richins case. Let's go. And if there's something redundant, I'll go past it.
In April of 2023, Kouri Richins appeared on local television to promote a children's book she had written called Are You With Me? The book was about grief, about helping children cope with the loss of a loved one.
So basically, this is everything you need to know, even if you're watching the trial. Big hugs, Cool and Chris. You're awesome. I love you guys, man. I can't wait to meet you guys in Vegas, Las Vegas. They had 3 different defense attorneys. The last one was the biggest ass I've ever seen, cross-examining a police officer. Nasty. I'm glad you guys are watching it too, because a lot of people asked me if I would cover the trial. I can't cover trials. I work during the day. So I'm glad you guys are not only watching it, but here with me. I appreciate you. What's up? You came just in time then, because this is everything you need to know about this trial that everyone's watching for the next month.
Kouri presented herself as a widow and mother of 3, whose husband, Eric, had died suddenly the year before. But that moment came at a time when investigators were already looking much closer. Within weeks, Kouri Richins was arrested and charged with murdering her husband, accused of lacing his drink with fentanyl at a level prosecutors say was unquestionably lethal.
You're accused of throwing it all away and murdering your husband for what?
Investigators
Well, it's been always alleged that it was a crime of finances, but then we get introduced to the boyfriend later on, and now we have 2. We have financial gain and, well, she was cheating. Rebecca, 1820, member for a whole year. Thank you. Jay, you're amazing. Well, thank you. I could use that nice compliment on a Monday where I'm like trying to be energized still. I've been up since 6:30 working this morning. Let's go. Thank you. I appreciate you guys. You guys are why I'm here. I couldn't do any of this without you. So thank you. If I didn't have an audience, then who would be watching? All right. Everything we need to know, folks.
The events leading to Eric Richins' death began long before that night. They point to mounting financial pressure, an alleged earlier poisoning attempt, and a sequence of actions they say show planning, not accident.
Also, you guys think about this and let me know, because I'm giving you everything that's going to be up until and so you are not confused by the trial. But there was an opening statement by the prosecutor today, and it wasn't very long. It was like less than 30 minutes. That if you guys are into it still, I mean, I only have 114 people here, but if you guys, when we get done with this, do you want to listen to the prosecution opening statement? Let me know. Put a 1 if you want to watch that with me. If you don't, put a 2. And yes, you can buy me a Red Bull. Instead of buy me a coffee, buy me a Red Bull. Because I am sucking those Red Bulls up today, guys. I gotta do this with passion. I can't come in here and be like, Kouri Richins. Wait, what was I saying? Hold on. Jay, where are you? Oh yeah, I was talking about Nancy. I mean Kouri. Okay, that was just a joke for myself. Some of y'all watch the craziest stuff. Some true crime creators have this huge audience. I've got 115 people, and I see creators that are literally not getting details right, and there's no passion in them, with 500 people just sitting there watching them drool on themselves. How can we get that much passion back into true crime and the victims, to be the voice for the victims? Now, my girl Tiff, I got to tell you, I copied you on a case today where a father messaged me and wants us to help him present the documentation that his, I believe, 3-year-old son was murdered, and there's circumstances with it. He reached out to us to get the story out there. So I copied you on that, my girl Tiff. But we're always constantly here for the victims. We're here to see justice through. We're here if you're a family member and you want something to say. That's what we do here. All right. And yeah, no, I don't even know how it's all about the money. I don't get, well, for her it is. Yeah. Anyway, welcome in, everybody. It's so good to see you. Look at her. She's looking scary.
What began as a story about loss would become a criminal case centered on money, motive, and deception. Welcome to another episode of Courtroom Confidential.
No, we don't need all
They
that.
had 2 more children. By 2022, they were raising 3 kids, aged 9, 7, and 5.
And you guys know how visual I am and how deep I like to get into it. So you guys can also let me know as well if you want to. I'm just kidding. Me make myself sick? No, I'm good. I'm just playing. I have one. It's a watermelon Red Bull. I'm just teasing. I'm good. Thanks, Cool and Chris. I'm visual, so I want you guys to see the family pictures and see how fake she is. So fake. Evil woman.
5 years old. Friends described Eric as hands-on and devoted. Known to friends as Rico, he ran a successful stone masonry business, coached his kids' teams, and was deeply involved in their daily lives.
What more do you
Kouri
want?
was an aspiring realtor. She had her real estate license, but she also kind of had this dream of becoming one of these people who would flip houses, almost kind of like what you would see on one of those television shows. And she started building this house. She took on this project. There was this like monstrosity of a house out in the middle of nowhere. Really, she thought this was going to be her big project that was really going.
But she lied and schemed in order to get it. And that was the last straw with Eric. Thank you so much, Indy Isham. We love you too. Please come to Vegas. What's up, Rocco? Good to see you. Watermelon's your new favorite Red Bull. Yeah, she's the epitome of evil. Evil, evil, evil. And the face of evil doesn't look like it most of the time.
To put her on the map.
On the surface, it looked like a busy family building a future. But there were decisions made early in the marriage that would quietly shape everything that came later. The couple signed a prenuptial agreement, spelling out how assets would be handled, not just in a divorce, but if Eric were to die while they were still married. After Eric's death, it would become central to nearly every legal fight that followed. By the late 2010s, the financial picture inside the Richins marriage had grown far more complicated.
Kouri was taking out a lot of what are called hard money loans. And she was doing this to fund her business. And
do a lot of you guys know this already? I don't want to overdo it. I would rather go and explain the walk the dog letter. So when that gets introduced, and then prosecutor Rachel Smith talks about what to expect at the trial. But I just want to make sure I have enough time with you guys and you're not just bored to death with what I'm presenting. You're just waiting for the next show, right? Because, you know, Kouri Richins' case is something I've been following personally, and it started today. But yeah, it's not in the algorithm just yet. So again, if you guys want me to go faster forward, or if you want me to do the prosecution opening statement, put a 1 in chat, because my chat is just not going at all right now.
Everything, you know, a lot of people looking at this from the outside thought, wow, she is enjoying great success.
Yep.
But these loans had incredibly high interest rates. And she was essentially, according to what the prosecution alleges, robbing Peter to pay Paul, you know, taking money from one loan to pay off another. And this was a kind of situation where eventually everything was going to collapse.
In 2019,
that's why she was trying to poison him.
Kouri allegedly opened a bank account Eric didn't know about, tied to a revolving line of credit. Prosecutors claim she borrowed hundreds of thousands of dollars using a deed of trust that included a forged signature. A year later, Eric began noticing things he couldn't explain: large withdrawals, tens of thousands of dollars charged to his credit.
I mean, that's going to be the major motive that the juries, between that and the walk the dog situation, you'll see. Those are going to be huge points of contention. I don't even think at this point the boyfriend's going to be such a hard thing. It's moving. Okay, good. Oh, super interesting. Okay, good. I'm glad. If you guys are interested, we're good. Anjanette Levy reminds me of the girl next door neighbor that will bring you soup when you're sick or help you. She does look like that, huh? That's funny. I like her. All right. He had talked to some friends and his sister and told them what was going on. Yeah, he did. And then he died. And that's what happened. She's a con artist. Absolutely. And remember, her mom's a con artist too. We look back and her mom was doing the same things, right? You know about this.
Cards and loans taken out using a power of attorney he said he never authorized. By the fall of 2020, he consulted divorce and estate attorneys. He rewrote his will. He created a trust for his children and put his sister in control of his estate, his business interests, and life insurance.
And she didn't know any of this. Had she known this, she might not have taken his life. There might have been a huge blowout. But I wish that I wish he would have made it clear to her, like, listen, Beezy, you've done enough damage. I took your name up. She literally, as soon as he died, started making the calls to and the safe. She went straight to the safe, and there you go, boxing match between her and the sister. Those are her true colors. That's who Kouri Richins is.
Were moved out of Kouri's reach. The marriage, however, didn't end. The couple would ultimately reconcile, but the financial structure of their relationship had shifted. In January 2022, Kouri opened yet another life insurance policy in Eric's name, this time for $100,000. Later that month, Kouri allegedly asked her housekeeper, Carmen Lauber, to help obtain pain medication, saying it would
never a good idea. Now look at her housekeeper. She's got an ankle monitor on her, and she's going to be one of the biggest witnesses. And I'm assuming the Paramour, her boyfriend, is going to testify against her. The fact that she used him, and then the moment she took her husband's life, Eric Richins, she discarded him and let him be homeless. And you can't tell me that she wasn't telling him what she was doing, that she was acquiring pills, etc. All right. So there's going to be another main witness.
For someone who had been injured. Weeks later, prosecutors say Kouri asked for something stronger.
Kouri had asked her to get what she called some of the Michael Jackson stuff. Well, the Michael Jackson stuff would refer to propofol, if you recall that. Michael Jackson was being administered propofol. That's a anesthesia that is administered only safely in operating rooms. And Dr. Conrad Murray was giving that to Michael Jackson to help him sleep as he was preparing for his tour before he passed away. And so the housekeeper would tell investigators that, you know, Kouri approached her and asked her to get this Michael Jackson stuff, and that she did procure some type of drug for her at some point in time.
Lauber allegedly supplied fentanyl pills, 15 to 20 of them for $900. On Valentine's Day 2022, Eric became seriously ill after dinner at home and later told a friend he feared his wife was trying to poison him. Prosecutors say the requests didn't stop there. By the end of February, they allege Kouri had sought another $900 round of fentanyl just days before Eric Richins would be found dead. March 3rd, 2022 was apparently a celebration at the Richins house. Kouri told investigators they were celebrating a real estate closing, a $3.9
Now, mind you, she's all the lies are adding up at this point. Every single person that is either associated with Eric Richins as a friend or a family member has already been talking to law enforcement about how Eric did not want to and was not celebrating the purchase of that house or anything else for that matter. Okay, remember this had happened. This was 2 years before they were having financial woes, and when it started to all come crashing down, push came to shove, and she wanted the strong stuff. She wanted the Michael Jackson stuff, right? All right, let's continue.
$1 million mansion that she planned to fix up and flip. She said she made Eric a Moscow Mule, which he drank in bed, and that he also consumed a THC gummy.
She said she fell asleep in one of the children's room. One of the children was having some nightmares.
Nope.
And that she was comforting one of the boys. And then she returned to their bedroom, the bedroom she shared with Eric, around 3 a.m. And that's when she found Eric, unconscious, not breathing. And she called 911.
But investigators would later note discrepancies in that timeline. Records indicate that Kouri was active on her phone and moving around the house. The autopsy confirmed what would become the central fact in the case. Eric Richins died from an overdose of fentanyl. The medical examiner reported the amount in his system was roughly 5 times a lethal dose.
Did anybody listen to any of this today that you've heard of? Thank you so much, Husky Lover, for the $2 super chat or super sticker. That wasn't a red flag. Oh, there's so many red flags. I do not think they were Mormon. I did not. And that's because they're in Utah. I didn't hear anything about their religion, which is interesting. All right, let's continue. That way I can look that up for you.
And it had been ingested orally.
Personally, I interviewed Greg Skordas, the spokesperson for the Richins family, for Eric's side of the family. And he told me straight up, Eric Richins was not a drug user. He was not somebody who used fentanyl, narcotics, those types of drugs. There's been some discussion in the other parts of the case where maybe they had taken gummies and things like that. That's a marijuana-based product. But fentanyl, that's a whole different ball game.
Okay, so if he was Mormon it said at the beginning he was Mormon. I didn't pay attention to that detail, just because it wasn't really incorporated into any of this. But thank you, Sid. It said in the beginning that he was Mormon. I don't think she was anything. I think she's just a monster and a chameleon that was a gold digger, and it became not enough. So she had to get rid of him. All right. Gee, you think she wanted to kill him? She only tried it a few times before. Why not?
Once the investigation is underway, are there any red flags that begin to stand out to investigators?
Well, I think that the fact that Eric Richins is an otherwise healthy man, I mean, you don't just usually have people who just die like that. It's very unusual. And I just know in covering a lot of cases over the years, I've had physicians even tell me, typically when you have a younger person die very suddenly, it's typically something related to drugs or possibly something, a heart related issue, something like that. So I'm sure once they got the toxicology back, they're saying, they're looking at this and they're like,
remember, it took quite a while. She was out for some time. This happened in 2022, and she was living her best life, trying to get the money, still calling, making her, am I going to get I need life insurance, and I need this, and if I sell that, I can get this. She was trying. That's why she even wrote the book as well. She's like, hey, I gotta, make some money, and it's going to help other grieving children. She's a demon. a hustler, a liar, and she just got too greedy.
This is a massive amount of fentanyl in this man's system. Like, where is this coming from? And we don't see any history of illicit drug use with him. Also, Kouri's phone activity, it shows her kind of up and moving around at times during the night when she says she's in bed with her children. And then they find these Google searches on her phone in the days after Eric dies. Things like, can cops uncover deleted messages on an iPhone? And what are you allowed inside Utah jails? What is considered a lethal dose of fentanyl? There was a lot of very strange behavior on Kouri's part.
3 days after Eric died, authorities say Kouri drilled into his safe and removed at least $125,000 in cash. That same day, authorities say she had a violent altercation involving one of Eric's.
And that was okay. So that's the same day, the violent altercation. That sister wanted the paperwork in that safe. That Eric had told his sister already, and the family, his friends, if something happens to me, if I die, Kouri's trying to kill me. So she goes in there and she drills through, and that's what starts it. I mean, she literally just pushed her way in, literally and figuratively, every way you could think. Was fighting over that money. Man,
Sisters. What followed was a year marked by legal conflict. Kouri and Eric's family became entangled in ongoing litigation over access to his estate and control of the trust he had created for his children. At the same time,
she's got some balls. I gotta give her that. I mean, she did quite a bit with so many people involved down the line, and there she goes on a local TV station writing this book that, if you look at the small details of it, makes things that make you go, you know, those coincidences that don't happen in true crime. That's what we're looking at here.
Kouri began working on a children's book centered on grief, loss, and the death of a father. It would be published a year after Eric died. On May 8th, 2023, Kouri was arrested.
So that shows you that she had a full year to be out, figure things out, get herself set up. And that's what she was doing. She was going to go on to just continue hustling.
Was charged with aggravated murder in Eric's death and 3 counts of possession of drugs with intent to distribute. Just a month later, on June 9th, Kouri filed a civil lawsuit against Eric's estate.
And so you can see there, this is Sky Lazaro. When I saw her originally, I'm like, ooh, she's going to get her some lesser charges. And then the walk the dog letter came. And in the letter, she says, oh no, Sky will put some white strips in. Next thing you know, not even a week later, Sky's withdrawing from the case, saying it was for a conflict of interest. But y'all know, if you know the deal, you know why she dropped her. I hope you guys do.
She claimed she was entitled to certain assets under their prenuptial agreement. The court has put those claims on hold until the resolution of her criminal case. In August 2023, the state of Utah announced it would not seek the death penalty. According to court filings, the decision was made in consultation with Eric's father and his 2 sisters, who served as personal and victim representatives. In September 2023, a document emerged that would become a central point of controversy in Kouri Richins' case. Known in court filings as the Walk the Dog letter, it was found hidden in a book during a search of Kouri Richins' jail cell.
The Walk the Dog letter appeared to be really significant when it was first discovered, because it appeared, from what the prosecutors were saying at the time, that Kouri was trying to tell her family members.
Do you guys remember the Walk the Dog letter? I hope you do. And again, StreamYard questions and everything are coming in slow on my end, but feel free to ask questions, make comments, what have you. The Walk the Dog letter is a huge point in this case that shows the amount of control that she needed from the inside, even as she went. Even as she was in jail. Kouri has a new book coming out called The Chain Gang. And it's only $9.99 on Amazon.
Potentially how they should testify in this case.
Prosecutors described it as evidence of witness tampering and moved to restrict her contact with relatives.
Her attorneys believed that this was a complete overreach by the police, by the deputies in the jail, by the prosecutors.
Kouri's defense argued the letter was part of a fictional novel she was writing, a story about a stay in a Mexican prison. That disagreement sparked a legal battle over whether prosecutors could access the full document and whether its release had affected the fairness of the trial. In November, a motion to dismiss the trial over the letter was denied. The court concluded that despite the letter's publicity, the case had already been covered extensively in the media, and a fair trial was still possible. In March of 2024, prosecutors filed new charges, including attempted aggravated murder related to an incident weeks before Eric's death, along with additional fraud allegations.
I'm actually glad that they did that because he absolutely told his friend that she was trying to kill him, and it came true. Not only that, guys, but with that walk the dog letter, I mean, the reason they knew that it wasn't her telling him to take the dog out is because she was very specific. Now, walk the dog is a slang term that is also, if you know sports, especially basketball or tennis, it can mean handling the ball with ease or showing off with a bit of control. So she was trying to, it can mean doing something effortlessly or dominating a task. And she used the walk the dog letter to her family as a way to tell her brother how he needs to testify and say, yeah, when we went to Mexico, Eric was buying drugs and I don't know what he got. I think he was taking fentanyl. That's what she was trying to control. And then they found it. They found the letter. It was going to go out and they confiscated it and it made it back into court. So I'm glad that it did.
2 months later, Kouri's defense team stepped aside. In court filings, they cited a professional obligation to withdraw, pointing to an irreconcilable conflict they said made it impossible to continue while protecting her constitutional rights. In an episode of True Crime News Sidebar, attorney Sky Lazaro actually told me that the withdrawal was based upon prior representation that her firm had with Richins regarding her estate issues that created a conflict of interest.
That's a possibility, but I don't think so. I think she knew that from the beginning, but you have to have an official way to get out of a case. And hey, there's a good one.
Listeners are likely going to recognize you from the time that you represented Kouri Richins. One thing I was hoping you could clear up for our audience is that you recently withdrew from the case. And there has been a lot of speculation as to why that is in the media. But I know that you have a really straightforward and simple answer to that. Do you mind sharing that with us?
Of course she does.
Not at all. I do. Our firm represented Miss Richins in the estate cases on the civil side of things following her husband's passing away. There was a conflict that arose within the firm in that case that was irreconcilable and ultimately conflicted the entire firm off. So really had nothing to do with me.
New attorneys were appointed, and for the first time since her arrest,
I don't
Kouri
believe
spoke
that.
publicly, asserting her innocence and asking the world.
Yeah, I absolutely don't believe that. We saw the judge reading the letter in court. I don't know if you guys watched it to the level that some of us did, but Sky Lazaro was pretty pissed off that Kouri was openly telling everybody, oh, no problem. Sky doesn't have a problem with sneaking something into me or getting something to me. That can get you disbarred. Just saying. All right, let's continue. Look at that face. Her face has cleared up, though, whatever happened.
To give her a chance.
To be able to speak out for the first time is terrifying, but is much needed. The world has yet to hear who I really am, what I've really done, and what I really didn't do. Give me a chance to prove it to you. Let me show you the facts. Let me show you the evidence. I will not give up. I will not give in. Please, just give me a chance. What I've really done is protect Eric at all costs. What I really didn't do is murder my husband. I could not and would not ever do that to Eric or anyone for that matter.
Wendy Lewis and Kathy Nestor are representing Kouri Richins now. They are two, prominent defense attorneys in Utah. Kathy Nestor is now representing Tyler Robinson, the man accused of murdering Charlie Kirk. And they're basically doing it as public defenders, which doesn't mean that they're not good lawyers. I mean, they are representing her and they are fighting for her very intensely and very zealously.
As trial preparations continued, the defense turned its attention to another critical factor, where the case would be heard. They argued that Summit County, where the case had unfolded and received widespread attention, had...
Yeah, she definitely... Hold on. I'm not sure what happened with this, but, I mean, we follow a lot of cases, and Cynthia's saying that Kaylani Rogers had been found safe. She was actually found safe a day or two ago. So I don't know if anybody's been watching this or even knows who Kaylani Rogers is, but just know that she was found safe. This was in Phoenix, Arizona. Kaylani Marie Rogers, 3 years old, was the subject of an Amber Alert this Sunday, and she was actually found safe. I already saw that. I didn't know you were. So if you probably aren't going to recognize her name, folks, but it was the little girl that went missing by her nanny, like some crazy ass nanny that said she wouldn't bring her back. So just in case you didn't know, I haven't covered this case at all. And I did see that on Saturday. I don't know why, if you guys are bored right now. Are we bored talking about? Are we bored what we're talking about? Or what do you? But I guess, I can show you. Missing toddler found safe at a gas station. This is the lady that took her, and she's now behind bars and arrested in the little girl's home. So, I'll play this part real quick.
Police say she took Kaylani, then was spotted at a business in Maricopa yesterday before being found at the QT this morning. So I was just kind of posting something on Facebook about this. Someone, asked about the suspect. So that's the newest information into our newsroom. We know she's now in jail in Avondale, and this is a live look outside of the police station there. A lot of questions about this. We still don't know the connection.
All right, so I am glad. Beautiful little angel, beautiful little girl. It could have ended tragically like everything else does, and it didn't. So guys, thank you for letting me know and remind me. I was going to cover that case this week, and then she was found safe, and nobody wants to show her face off. Nobody wants to show this little girl's face to the whole world anymore because they don't want her to get kidnapped by someone. Beautiful little angel. I hope that they get that crazy nanny and keep her locked up as long as they can. What a blessing that finally another child was brought home, and we don't have to report on, finding a body. So thank you guys for letting me know. Appreciate it.
Been saturated with coverage, making a fair trial impossible. To your point about the zealous advocacy of her defense team, one of the efforts that they've made is to move the trial entirely. Can you talk to us about that?
They wanted to move this trial to Salt Lake County to get a larger jury pool. There's a smaller jury pool in Summit County.
Now, mind you, this has taken years. They said it's taken 3 years, but the only reason it's taken that long is because they've put the most ridiculous motions. They've tried to file the most ridiculous motions, and the charges just keep moving. That's why it takes so long, and that's why they say this trial's going to be a month long, because it's just full of BS, frankly.
And so the judge said, no, we're not going to do that. So I think that's part of the reason this judge has often not allowed live streaming of pretrial proceedings. Often it's just you get an upload of it after the fact. The judge has actually chastised the media a bit and said that he's been displeased with some of the media coverage of the case, which I found very interesting, but he didn't expound upon that. So I think that it's not unusual for a judge to say, no, we're keeping the trial here. We're staying put.
In June 2025, prosecutors added dozens of new felony charges for financial crimes in a newly filed case stemming from the broader homicide investigation.
You said Home Depot sells boards. Home Depot sells boards. Just ask Kouri. She's glad, and we are very glad that the little girl was found safe. I hope we don't see her picture too much out there, because we just want Kaylani Rogers to be back with her family and doing her thing. That should have never happened. Let me just show you real quick now, because I pulled this up. I'm not bored of the Kouri Richins thing. Hopefully you guys aren't, but let me show you this real quick, and then we'll, at least we do it proper, show you who was found safe. And it's rare that we get that.
Welcome to 12 News at 10. I'm Kariba Divine.
I'm Mark Curtis. We're starting with breaking news. Imagine putting your 3-year-old daughter to bed and waking up the next morning to find her gone. That's the horror an Avondale family is going through tonight. Kaylani Rogers has now been missing for almost 24 hours. An Amber Alert was issued this afternoon. So we'll show you a picture. That's Kaylani Rogers on the left, and on the right is the woman that police believe.
Isn't that a gorgeous little angel? And what's up for the people that just rolled in? I'm here for you. I'm here for it. Carson, what's up? squeaky wheel. I have to look back because my StreamYard's being bunk, and that's a word that I don't use very often. All right, let's continue. Beautiful angel reunited with their family. This lady looks like she needs to be in a mental institution.
Took her. In just the last half hour, police have identified her as 23.
That's her mugshot. I want you to know that. This crazy lady.
3-year-old Mariana Noriega. She was last seen with Kalani in the city of Maricopa.
12 News journalist Jade Cunningham is at the family's neighborhood now, which is near Avondale Boulevard. And
all right, we're not going to listen to all this. I just want you to see who it is. Thank God. That's good news, right? Good news today. We're talking about other victims and a little 3-year-old that can't help herself. Thank God was brought home safely. Now back to Kouri.
The charges covered allegations from mortgage fraud and forgery to money laundering. No trial date has been set in the financial crimes case. In October 2025, questions.
Yeah, so we're going to see another case all over again unless she decides to take a plea. All right, Kalisa says, sorry, my phone keeps trying to autocorrect. You're calling me Kai. It's all right. Some people call me Jail instead of Jay, so it's all good. All right, let's continue.
Emerged about the reliability of key witnesses. The lead up to this trial has not been without difficulties for the prosecution, though, as well. They've had a little bit of witness trouble. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, it's been very interesting. They had one witness in particular.
He's got a ton of other charges. They're just not putting the mortgage fraud and the finance charges into this trial. It's going to be a whole separate trial that has not been set yet.
Robert Crozier, and he is the witness that the prosecution says admitted to selling drugs to Carmen, the housekeeper of Kouri Richins. Carmen saying, I got the drugs from Robert Crozier, and then I gave them to Kouri. And Robert Crozier, he was interviewed a long time ago by the prosecution and by the investigators and said, yeah, I sold her the drugs or whatever. Well, then he's re-interviewed, and he says, well, I didn't sell fentanyl. That's not what I was selling. I was selling like oxys.
He explained that during the original interview, he had been detoxing from drugs and had no clear recollection of the events.
And so Kouri's defense team filed a motion saying they are withholding exculpatory information from us. Judge, you got to do something about this. They didn't tell us about this interview. This is a violation. They have a duty to turn over information that could help us, exculpatory information.
Now, remember, that's why this has taken so long, because every time I would see an update, it would be Kouri trying to file some frivolous thing or file against whatever. Knowing damn well, you guys are seeing, I hope you guys have the same vision goggles that I do to see what this monster was doing. I don't know what she thinks she's going to get out of by continuing to lie, keep moving out by putting motions, moving the trial. They didn't even want to have the trial. They did not want to start the trial today. They wanted to push it out, and the judge says, damn it, I'm not pushing it out anymore. We're gonna do it now. So that was their strategy. Push it out, let the witnesses die off somewhere, let the cleaning lady go on a drug bender and not show up. That's what they were trying to do. That was the strategy. And
they haven't told us about this. They haven't provided us any information about this interview. The prosecution then says, we didn't do anything wrong, because they're saying when you're a street dealer, it's not a pharmacy. And basically that these pills that Crozier could have sold to Carmen very well likely could have had fentanyl in them.
The defense used this new information to argue for reconsideration of bail, suggesting it raised questions about the strength of the case. The court, however, ultimately denied the request, keeping Kouri in custody.
Yeah, you can tell this judge is tired of it. If you've been watching this today or you've been watching it throughout the trial, he's tired of it. You can see what he's thinking. I mean, his facial expressions tell a lot. Just saying, pay attention when you're watching the trial. They say a lot.
As preparations for trial continued. Just weeks before trial, attention shifted again, this time away from evidence and toward how the case itself was being handled. In January 2026, the defense raised new concerns about how witnesses were being contacted and prepared, accusing members of the prosecution team of crossing a legal line.
They're telling the judge, look, you have got to order this prosecution team to hand over any communications they've had with witnesses, whether it's electronic, paper, digital, audio, video, recordings, whatever you have. of communications between the prosecution team, your detectives, your agents with state's witnesses. And they're saying this because they claim there are 2 witnesses for the state that have come to the defense team and said, look, we have text messages between their detectives and me. And they're only identified as witness 1 and witness 2 in the.
And trust me, they pulled every trick in the book in the beginning of it with Lazaro. Almost every time they've had to come to court, this judge is like, it seems to have ruled against almost everything that they've tried to pull. All right. And yes, we need to be very careful, especially nowadays, who we hire and who we bring into our home and bring around our home. And I know you guys are talking about the little girl that just was found safely, thank God, but it happens. What if we find out, we just heard that somebody that went to the Guthrie's house had been there before. They saw that person in a camera before. Was it the people that mowed the lawn, washed the dishes? What do? You gotta be careful. People that covet you and people that your family and friends are statistically likely to do the most harm and perform a crime on the person they know. So it's hard to say that. There's been a lot of that. Oh my goodness.
The court documents. And they're basically harassing us, saying you have to meet with us and you're required to do this, or you should do this. The one detective said, we've told you need to Zoom us. You can do this on FaceTime. We just need to prep you. And this person said, well, I don't want to be prepped. I don't need to be prepped. If you want to ask me something, you can do it over text. And so you can tell that at least witness 1 is telling this detective, I want nothing to do with you guys. I want nothing to do with you. Tell me when you want me at the courthouse. You don't need to ask me any more questions. Witness 2, on the other hand, is saying, look, I met with you all a long time ago. You told me I had immunity. I've been cooperative. And this person sounds like they don't want to meet with the prosecutors either.
The claims weren't about what witnesses might say, but about how they were being approached and whether pressure had replaced procedure. And Jeanette, you've been doing this for a while. Why do you?
All right, we're almost done with this, and then we will do the opening statement from the state, because I want you to see what they did with all of this and how they're coming at the people. So thank you guys for being here. We have 112 people in here, light night, but I do appreciate it. Hit that like button. Let's get us in the algorithm for the week. We have a lot of new shows and things coming up. All right. But I wanted to make sure I caught you up on, because man, this is years ago. I didn't even remember half of this stuff.
I think this case has so much attention. Why does it resonate with so many people?
I think part of the reason people are so interested in this is because you have a mom
Yeah.
who doesn't look, whatever you envision a murderer to look like, it
Exactly.
doesn't really look like Kouri Richins.
That could be the girl next door. That could be the girl that's flirting with you at, Safeway when you're checking out for your groceries, or she was at Home Depot. But never would anyone think that she can go to the depths of evil that she did. And she still is.
This looks like a mom with three kids.
Yep.
Who should be, successful and living in the house with the great husband, he's well off financially, and you're accused of throwing it all away and murdering your husband for what? So you could get his money for
Yep.
your real estate business?
Yep.
And so there's a mystery there. Did she really do it or did she not?
And not just that, guys. Here's the thing. I think the financial motive was the biggest one. But now she's in trouble because she did have what they call a paramour. She was running out of options. Once he realized that she was writing life insurance policies in his name and how much she was actually stealing from him, she was going to be done. And when I say done, he wasn't just going to divorce her. He would probably press charges on her for the shit that she was pulling. All right. So financially, and then she was having an affair as well. She just clearly is not a good person.
Did something else happen? And I think there is a mystery aspect to it. And if she did it, wow, she really thought she might get away with it. Plus, you add in this whole irony about the grief book and writing it for the boys and being on TV talking about that. And she's telegenic. I think that's always a big part of it as well. This is about a man whose life it was taken. He has a grieving family. There is a mystery and an intrigue aspect of it in this story.
Nearly 4 years after Eric Richins died in his home, the case against his wife is finally moving toward a jury. The outcome now rests on whether prosecutors can prove how and why Eric Richins died.
And that's what you're going to hear. Let's listen to this quick 911 call, and then I'm going to go to that opening statement from the prosecution so you know what's coming at Kouri Richins. All right. So then you guys can, I see a bunch of other people covering it. And it's not that I'm Nancy'd out. There's just no real substance right now. It's a lot of just speculating. Nothing really new has come out, and this is happening today. So why not get this out there today? Even if we only get a couple hundred people in here, we're getting this out there. Thanks, Pretty Little Lies and Alibis. They have a lot. They're a podcast, but they put a lot of good info out. Listen to this 911 call. It's real short.
911, what's the address of the emergency? My husband's not breathing.
Okay, this is Kouri Richins.
Cold. Okay, what's the address?
And look at her trying to play sad, guys. She's trying to cover her face. It's okay.
So it's a good phone number in case it got disconnected.
Ridiculous.
671 4987. Okay, it's going to be in Francis. Okay, tell me exactly what happened. I don't know. I was sleeping with my kid. Okay, I can't understand you.
Right.
I need you to take a deep breath. What's going on?
I made my husband.
I don't know. I was sleeping in with my kids. I just came into bed.
Now, I want you guys to know that's why a lot of criminals don't make 911 calls because, hey, Carly, what's up? Like Carly says, she's heinous, and you see her in court. These 911 calls come back to haunt you always when you're doing a crime like that. She's sitting there trying to cover her face and pretend like she's sad, but you can hear it in her voice, and it's definitely going to be brought into the trial. Kouri Richins looked so much happier when she was sitting on a couch at a local television station, gaslighting people, right? Don't you think she is? That's what she's. The 911 call, the 911 operator knows she's lying. Oh man.
And I turned over. I think he's cold.
She locked herself into this now, and we've got this 911 call, and then we've got law enforcement getting a statement after, and it doesn't match with what her phone's doing. It doesn't match with any of that. And then it doesn't match with the fact that they were celebrating that night, and he drank a Moscow Mule that she made because they were so happy they closed on the house. No. Law enforcement did their due diligence and found out that he didn't want that house. He wasn't celebrating the house. He had changed the name. She thought she got away with it, guys.
He's cold. Who's cold? My husband. I keep the light off him. And he's not breathing? He's not breathing? I need you to confirm it for me. Is he not breathing? Okay, can you do CPR?
She's like, I don't want
No,
CPR.
I don't know how. You don't know. I'm going to tell you how to. Are you willing to do CPR?
Look at her face there. At first she tried to hide it, and now she's like, I don't know how to do it. She knows he's been dead for a while. Bottom line, they know it too, because by the time they got there, his state of, how he had already been cold and stiff. So she tried to pull that whole, I was sleeping in my kid's bedroom, but her phone said a different story. I mean, it took them a year to arrest her, guys, and almost 4 years to go to trial. This happened in 2022, all right? And it's 2026, almost 4 years on the dot.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. It was a quick 911 call. I just really wanted you to hear the nonsense. Again, we're here for justice for Eric Richins. All he wanted to do was have a wife, have his boys. He made it very clear to Kouri Richins that she can't just leave him or cheat on him and take half his stuff. She was all in for it until she wasn't. All right, we're gonna watch wife poison, killed husband for money, and we're gonna just watch the state opening today, so you can hear what they're going to say against Miss Kouri Richins and the judge. I like him. All right, I'm glad they did
Robert
this.
Josh Grossman texts Kouri Richins an image of two people romantic.
Now remember this that's her boyfriend. All right. This is the opening statement from the prosecution, and right out of the gate they're talking about her boyfriend. Now, I didn't even know she had a boyfriend originally. A couple hundred people who adore you. Well, thank you, Clark. You know I love you. And Indy, if Indy wants me to, I've sent your number to Indy a couple of times. I'm not sure what happened, but if you want, I can email your number to her when we're done. Let me know. All right. Thank you, Clark. We love you too. She's got nothing in divorce, and his dad, she got the business. She would have still had things in the divorce, whatever assets that they had claimed together. The problem was she was stealing and scheming is the problem. All right. And thank you guys. So supportive.
Kissing. The image is captioned, "Love you."
Damn, why is it so low? Hold on.
At 8:36, Kouri Richins replies, "Love you." The boys go to bed. Kouri Richins makes Eric a drink and takes it to him in their bedroom. He drinks on the bed. She departs the bedroom. Kouri Richins returns to the bedroom at about 3:00 a.m.
Now, guys, I'm gonna let it play a little so you can hear it. I turned it as high as I can, Mo, and I'll turn it up as much as I can. I put the CCs on, but that's evil. This is just pure evil. What's happening right here? You're supposed to feel safest in your home when you're falling asleep at night, or you get up to get a snack, whatever you're doing at your house, having a drink. You should feel comfortable. And for someone to sit there and do what she did, to sit there and prep it, and this was like what, her third different kind of cocktail solution because the other ones weren't killing him. That's pure evil. That's all I gotta say.
She feels that Eric is cold. She nudges him. He does not respond. She sees that he is stiff and pale. His mouth is wide open. At 3:06 a.m., Kouri Richins unlocks her cell phone. She travels 243 feet beginning at 3:08 a.m. She unlocks her cell phone again at 3:10, 3:15, and twice at 3:19. At 3:21, Kouri Richins unlocks her cell phone and calls 911. Paramedics respond, but they are unable to revive Eric. He has no pulse. He is cold. They pronounce him dead at 3:58 a.m. on March the 4th, but they think he has been dead a while. My name again is Brad Bloodworth. I am one of Summit County's criminal prosecutors who, along with Lindsay Shervinack and Fred Burmester, will present to you the state of Utah's aggravated murder case against Kouri Darden Richins for causing the poisoning death of her husband and the father of her 3 children, Eric Richins.
Thank you.
The state will also prove to you that 2 weeks before murdering Eric Richins, Kouri Richins attempted to murder him. And 2 weeks before that, by fraud and forgery, she took out an insurance policy on his life.
I mean, do you see the desperation? Do you see the desperation that must have been growing in her mind? Desperation equals bad, evil things sometimes. When somebody is desperate, they do anything. And in my opinion, she was getting desperate. It was coming to the wire. Remember, she was telling people they were celebrating getting the house, but she actually wasn't at all. She bought that house and was already upside down, didn't have the money in the first place, was taking out loans, forging his name. All All right. So that's what we call desperation, is what she's doing. All right. He's going to talk to the judge for a second.
She submitted a fraudulent claim on yet another insurance policy.
Hey.
In this opening statement, I will summarize for you some of the evidence that the state will present over the next few days, perhaps weeks, so that you have a framework to assemble and analyze all of the evidence. The evidence will prove that Kouri Richins murdered that
sorry, hold on. I'm trying to
because
volume.
her bank accounts were exhausted and her credit was exhausted. She had been taking out new loans to include payday loans to service existing loans, but her new credit was drying up. In the 5 months leading to Eric Richins' death, Kouri Richins overdrafted over 200 transactions, totaling over $300,000. And on the day that Eric died, Kouri Richins was scheduled to close.
She was scheduled to close on the house that he didn't want. Now, Kalisa, it's always a possibility. However, she didn't care if it was oxy laced with fentanyl or a weed gummy laced with fentanyl. She just wanted him to die. That was her third attempt and final attempt. So whatever it was that she got. Now remember, that is what the cause of death is death by fentanyl. So it doesn't matter whether it was oxy laced with fentanyl. That's what she was looking for. She tried to kill him just 2 weeks before, and it's even reflecting in the charges. And yes, you're right. Her mom, if you look into this case, has done the same thing. Right. She learned it from her mama. All right. Payday loans are awful. If you get a payday loan, kiddo, Wyatt, you don't want to get one. Dude, you're paying like 40% probably. I've never got a payday loan, but I know a regular credit card, we're talking 30%. All right. So yeah, payday loans are bad, especially when you're doing business in the way that she was with her husband and him having money and influence in the town. She was going to be embarrassed.
On an unfinished and derelict mansion in Midway.
He didn't want it.
Thus take on an additional $3.2 million in debt.
Damn.
She did not have the financial ability to service that debt, to rehab the mansion, or to hold on to it long enough to resell it. The mansion may appear impressive from a distance, but upon close inspection, it is just a facade. On the other hand, on the day that Eric died, his estate was worth over $4 million.
And she didn't.
The evidence will prove that Kouri Richins believed she would inherit it all. She believed that she would inherit Eric's $2 million interest in a stonemasonry business, an interest that a prenuptial agreement prevented her from getting any part of if they did.
But remember, she went in before and she changed the paperwork. She thought she was being slick and changing the paperwork to herself, but little did she know her husband and the family was already on to her. Well, he was in bed. Maybe she promised him. Who knows? But she gave him a Moscow Mule. I don't think she even told him that it closed that day. She couldn't get the house. They said it closed, but that money had to have come from a forged document that he didn't know about. Right? All right, let's continue. I got it as loud as I can. I'm trying.
But permitted her to get all of if Eric died while they were married. She believed that she would inherit the $1 million or so dollar home that they lived in, but that Eric owned separate and apart from her. And she believed that she would benefit from nearly $2 million in insurance on Eric's life, to include the $100,000 policy that she took out a few weeks before he died. Now for Kouri Richins' fresh start at life motive. This motive overlaps with her money motive. She needed Eric Richins' money to get her fresh start at life. The evidence will prove that Kouri Richins was chronically unhappy in her marriage. She thought that having children would make her happier, but it did not. She consulted with a divorce attorney in the months leading up to Eric's death. 3 months before Eric's death, Kouri Richins booked a $4,000, 5-night, all-inclusive vacation for her and her boyfriend, Robert Josh Grossman.
See, she knew the time was coming. She was getting very desperate. And did everybody in here today see the the opening statements? Because I have the other one as well. If you guys want to hear how she's trying to rebuttal this guy, it's very interesting.
At the Secrets St. Martin's Resort and Spa in the Caribbean.
Come on, guys, hit that like button.
They were to check in the month after Eric died. 3 weeks before Eric's death, 15 days before Eric's death, 1 day before the charged attempted murder, Kouri Richins text messaged Josh Grossman, "If I was divorced right now and asked you to marry me tomorrow, you would? I just want to lay on the couch and cuddle you, watch a murder documentary and snuggle."
Now remember, she just used that guy and abused that guy as well. The moment that she was able to get rid of her husband, Eric, she also got rid of her boyfriend. Not only did she get rid of him, she evicted him from one of the houses that she was in charge of and supposedly renting out to him. All right. So this lady, this woman is the devil in disguise. Okay. All right. Cool. I mean, if you guys are here, I still have 105 people. If you want to hear that next, I'm certainly open to doing the opening statements. I've been personally invested in this case, but I just haven't presented it to y'all because, well, we've been covering other things. And I'm like, oh no, today's trial day, and I didn't cover it. So now I'm here. Better late than never, right?
5 days after the charged attempted murder and 11 days before the charged murder, Kouri Richins text messaged Josh Grossman, "Babe, I miss you. I want you today, every day.
Oh.
Not just sexually, but physically, mentally, every day when I wake up. I do want a future together. I do want you. Figure life out together. If he could just go away."
Okay, so there you go. If that's all she wanted from him, we can figure out our life together if he go away. She was looking for a way and for someone to take the life of Eric. If she could have convinced that guy to kill him in some other way or poison him without her having to do it, she would have. Right? So we know that he was just a pawn. And I want everybody to say a prayer for Arting with Lynn. That's a big deal to me. Thank you for the super chat, but please pray. Please, Jay, pray for my 95-year-old mom. I can't care for her anymore. I did my best, but I have to admit her. I just put her to bed for the last time. Well, huge prayers for you. I don't even want to think about that. I wouldn't want to think about that with my mom. My mom's 71. So when you hit 95 years old, mama, let's pray that we can take care of you. All right. Don't throw your walker at us. Okay. I'm just teasing. I got to make the light of it, but huge prayers for you. I'm close, very, very, very close with my mom, and I can't even imagine that. So we're here for you. Prayers for your mom. Thank you so much. All right, let's continue. At least no one's going to be locked up for life like what's going to happen to this woman, this evil woman.
And you could just be here. Life would be so perfect. Yes. I love you. I don't know what my deal is today. I'm sorry. 9 days after the charged attempted murder, 1 week before the charged murder, Kouri Richins text messaged her boyfriend, "I have a crazy dream. You quit your job, I divorce and come up with millions and millions. We buy Midway and live in the guest house and rent out the huge house as a big event center.
Get rid of her.
$15,000 a day like they charge down the road, maybe 12,000. Stay
Damn.
competitive. And we will just run the event center as our daily job and hang out every day, raise some kids, have a little farm. Deal?"
Damn, that's a lie. You know that's a lie, right? Y'all.
Just over 2 weeks after Eric Richins' death,
Damn.
Kouri Richins text messaged her boyfriend a link.
Guys, her true colors couldn't come out any worse than they are now. So yeah, we will listen to the, it's not super long. We gotta listen to the defense next because and hopefully Court TV has better sound, but we gotta hear this because how can you defend this behavior? I mean, every behavior has to be defendable, right? That's what defense attorneys do, but this is bad.
To the secret St. Martin's Resort and Spa in the Caribbean and asked, "Are we there yet?" 1 month and 5 days after Eric Richins' death, Kouri Richins texted, "I think I want you to be my husband one day." Now for the attempted murder charge. Carmen Lauber was a house cleaner who worked for Kouri Richins' aunt's house cleaning company. She cleaned Kouri Richins' house. She knew Kouri Richins for nearly 9 years. Kouri Richins knew that Carmen Lauber had a criminal history involving drugs. The evidence will prove that on February the 11th, 2022, 3 days before the charged attempted murder, Carmen Lauber, at Kouri Richins' request, purchased illicit pills from a street drug dealer who was a friend of a friend.
And see, we don't know what the illicit ones were. We know that the original hydrocodone didn't work. It could have been oxy laced with fentanyl, or could have just been straight up fentanyl pills. Get the job done, right? If you're not taking that stuff, it doesn't take much. And there's been officers that have OD'd just from touching fentanyl when they're arresting someone. That's why they want to wear their gloves when they go in, because you can literally OD just from touching it.
And she gave those pills to Kouri Richins.
Come on, guys, hit that like
That
button.
street dealer's name is Robert Crozier, and he sold Carmen Lauber the pills at a draper in Maverick. 3 days later, on Valentine's Day, Kouri Richins purchased a sandwich from the Mirror Lake Diner and left it for Eric Richins.
She
She then departed Camas and met up with Josh Grossman an hour away. At 11:33 that morning, Eric texted Kouri Richins, "I'm going to lay down for a bit. If I don't start getting better, I'm going to head to the hospital soon." Shortly thereafter, all activity on Eric's cell phone ceased for nearly 90 minutes in the middle of a busy workday. Once activity resumed, Eric Richins called his two best friends. They sounded to him scared, somber, confused, bewildered. A few days after that, Kouri Richins asked Carmen Lauber if she could get something stronger.
Why is he talking so slow?
The evidence will prove that on February the 26th, 5 or 6 days before Eric's death, Carmen Lauber, again at Kouri Richins' request, purchased pills from the same street dealer.
So what that sounds like to me, Clementine, is pills that were produced, like street produced pills, and they call them blues, which is oxy. They're like little tiny blue pills, but they're produced, but instead of being produced and given to you in a bottle, it's just produced, and they put fentanyl because people want the fentanyl that are addicted to it. But if you're not, and you don't ever use that stuff, and depends on how much she put, that's gonna OD him real quick. All right. I doubt it. I think she still thinks she's rich and famous. I think she's still locked in that delusion, guys.
At the same Maverick in Draper. And she left those pills at a home that Kouri Richins was just finishing up a rehab on. The evidence will prove that those illicit pills contained fentanyl.
Oh.
The autopsy and toxicology report shows that Eric Richins died of fentanyl poisoning.
So there you go. That's the official cause of death, is fentanyl poisoning. So we're going to say that it was probably heavily made with fentanyl on purpose. Now, yeah, I know people are wrapped up in the Nancy Guthrie. I started getting wrapped up into it as well, and I still am, but I just don't want to do it every single day when there's nothing really coming out. But something big might be coming out soon, Squeaky Will. I've been hearing some rumors about things in the background. So if that happens, then I'll come on and we'll continue talking about that. I'm not going to drop that case, but we got to present other cases here.
He had several times a lethal amount of fentanyl in his blood and more in his stomach. And that extraordinary amount of fentanyl was intentional, not accidental. The evidence will prove that time and again, Kouri Richins tried to cover up her attempted murder and ultimate murder of Eric Richins. When confronted with Eric's reaction on Valentine's Day, Kouri Richins text messaged her friend. It was Valentine's Day, and Eric and I were both working from home that day, and I ordered lunch from Mirror Lake. He never broke out in hives or used an EpiPen. I was fucking with him. Bailey was there too. He said the sandwich hurt his stomach, so he was going to nap. No hives, no.
I mean, the fact that she's actually getting charges for that as well means that they have more evidence than what we think. That would be hard to get a guilty verdict on that without evidence. So I wonder how much they do have.
EpiPen.
That's crazy.
Kouri Richins was an hour away from Eric Richins with her boyfriend.
Damn.
Regarding the morning of Eric Richins' death, Kouri Richins wrote in a notebook that she entered their room at 3:20 a.m. She saw that when she nudged Eric, nothing happened. She grabbed her phone and called 911.
And that's the letter I showed you that we talked about earlier, all right, where she is almost writing a novel about what happened in her diary, giving herself an alibi, so to speak.
She first grabbed her phone at least 3:06 a.m. and delayed calling 911 for 15 minutes.
See? Show us the timeline, buddy.
The evidence will also prove that Kouri Richins had a guilty conscience.
I know.
The morning that Eric died, his family came over. Kouri Richins could not face her children or Eric's dad, Eric Richins. She didn't speak to him. A few days after Eric's death, Kouri Richins and her boyfriend, Josh, they drove into the Uintas and talked about Eric's death for the first time.
So do you guys remember any of this stuff from back then? Just curious, because I never had heard about a boyfriend. It didn't come out until after he was evicted, and he's got to be on the witness list because the way he's talking, they have statements from him about the case, obviously.
Kouri Richins asked Josh, while serving in Iraq, did you ever kill anyone?
There you go. There you go.
She responded, she asked, how did that make you feel?
Damn.
Along the lines of both cover up and guilty conscience, Kouri Richins' text messages and other data from Kouri Richins' phone for the 2 months leading up to Eric Richins' death and a week or two after have all been deleted. Police seized that phone. She got a new phone. And on that new phone, there were the following internet searches. Can cops uncover deleted messages iPhone? Can you delete everything off an old iPhone without actually having it? Can deleted text messages be retrieved from an iPhone? How to completely wipe an iPhone clear remotely? How to permanently delete information from an iPhone remotely? On April the 13th, 2022, about 5 weeks after Eric Richins' death, detectives informed Kouri Richins that the autopsy and toxicology results show that Eric died of fentanyl poisoning. Thereafter, searches on her phone include if someone is poisoned, what does it go down on the death certificate as? Can cops force you to do a lie detector test? Women, Utah prison, luxury prisons for the rich in America.
Boy, is that funny.
Almost a year.
Can you imagine that? That's embarrassing. She doesn't want to be embarrassed. Once she married Eric, she was like, I'm the wife. I'm a successful realtor. When the whole time she was faking it, guys. She didn't know what she was doing. She was fraudulently. She was forging stuff, fraudulently getting money and loans, and then this stuff comes out. All right, this woman is crazy, and her mom's there supporting her, by the way. So people that are talking about her mom and what her past crimes were, very similar. She's there supporting her daughter, and she has been.
To you this evidence and more through a series of fact witnesses, expert witnesses, documents, and Kouri Richins' own words. As you evaluate the evidence and you consider it and you weigh it, let me offer 4 recommendations. The first is the evidence will prove that Kouri Richins murdered Eric Richins, but also consider the evidence that proves that Eric Richins did not kill himself or die accidentally.
Nope.
The evidence will prove that Kouri Richins had the means, motive, and opportunity to murder Eric Richins.
Multiple times.
But please
right?
consider the evidence that proves no one else did. Consider the evidence leading up to Eric Richins' death that proves that Kouri Richins murdered him, but also consider the evidence.
Hey, Justice Jane, how you doing? A lot of people are dipping out. Are you sure you guys want to finish the statement? Let's see if I can keep you here. But yeah, thank you for being here, Justice Jane. 24 narcissists like Sarah Boone and Kouri are so fascinating. The only difference with Kouri Richins is she's a same evil, but she's a lot less annoying. Right? I can't believe I know the delay of the post is crazy. It's StreamYard. I'm going back and forth to you guys page. I'm going to my actual page and writing, commenting. I don't know why StreamYard has been doing that lately. Do I have any other creators in the house that are using StreamYard? I'm trying to respond to you guys, but it's not coming through. Man, and I looked for an update. If anyone knows about StreamYard, let me know.
After Eric's death, that also proves it. As you evaluate Kouri Richins' conduct,
I don't know why it's doing
consider
that.
the evidence that proves that she richly values and trades on her perceived appearance, affluence, privilege, and success. Let me please highlight 2 of the judge's instructions that he just provided. The first is stay focused on the evidence. What the attorneys say, how they say it, their voice inflection, none of that is evidence. Please stay focused on the evidence. Please take notes. As he said, you will probably only hear from the witness one time, and that is when the witness testifies. At the end of the trial, I'll stand back up here. And in closing argument, we will analyze the evidence. We will apply it to the elements that the judge instructed you on.
Oh.
And the state of Utah will ask you to find Kouri Richins guilty of the aggravated murder of Eric Richins, the attempted aggravated murder of Eric Richins, 2 counts of insurance fraud, and forgery. Back for a moment to the morning of March the 4th, 2022. It is 8:30. Medical examiners place Eric's body in a body bag onto a stretcher, and they wheel him out of his home for the last time. His boys are upstairs with their uncle. Kouri Richins has not yet told them that Eric is dead, and she won't for a few more hours. The last of the sheriff's deputies leave, crime scene techs, medical examiners, and on Kouri Richins' phone, the following 3 images are accessed.
All right, the theatrics, and they weren't going to play it on there, so let's just see how they rebuttal this. We still got 100 people in here. You guys are doing amazing. Thank you, guys. I'm sorry my response is late, but I'm not trying for it to be. StreamYard has been like that constantly, so I'm going back to the YouTube. I'm going to YouTube and trying to answer your questions and talk with you in that way. All right, so here we go. This was from Court TV, and now I'm pulling it here. It's going to be her defense. All right, this is her defense attorney. Let's wait till she comes up, and there it is. All right, so she's going to rebuttal what we just heard right now, and I'll be going back. Hello, McFly. I'll go and make sure I'm chatting with you guys so you guys can. I'm sorry, I am loud because the volume was up high. I'm in stereo. I know, I'm sorry. My bad. Here, let me do this. Let me lower my mic a little bit and see what Court TV has for us. See how loud this is.
Okay, it's going to be in Francis. Okay, tell me exactly what happened. I don't know.
All right, well, we just heard that, so we're gonna
Midway Mansion. Slide 2, please. A sprawling, multi-million-dollar home in Midway that had been abandoned.
Okay, there we go. We should be a little bit better now as far as the voice matching, because the other one was really low, and so I had to turn everything up, and I know my voice is already loud, so let me know if I'm okay. We're going to hear the rebuttal now. And who's almost 7 feet tall? I want to know. What am I missing? I'll go back to chat right now. Let's listen to the rebuttal and see if she has a case.
Before construction was completed. And the plan was to fix it up just enough to resell it. In other words, repair the windows, make it look nice. There had been vandalism inside, clean it all out. Get it ready to flip and sell. And the concept is to sell it for millions more than the bargain basement price they got, because it was just a dilapidated, falling apart, abandoned property. And the plan was to flip it for so much that she was going to make millions of dollars of profit, at least $2 million for her and for all of her investors. And Eric was a part of this. Eric had been out at the property that very day, the day that he died, spreading gravel to make it look nice for open houses, and so that it'd be ready as soon as they closed.
The only problem, lady, is that it was already a bust, and she was already writing life insurance policies and stealing money and taking loans that she was never going to be able to pay back. This was already going to be an upside down property. Not a good defense thus far. And I'm going to be chatting with you directly on YouTube while we listen to this. So if you guys want to talk to me, you can talk to me directly. We'll talk in chat while we play this, okay? Because it's nice to be able to have it calm where I can answer questions. I can look them up for you. I was trying to look up for you what Lisa Darden did, because Lisa Darden is Kouri Richins' mom, and she had done something similar, but she was never not only was she never arrested, but her mom came over that morning, if I'm correct. All right, she came over the morning that Eric died, and they had a little powwow about hey, how'd that work out for you, Mom? Great. It's working out for me just fine.
These two had other things to celebrate on March 3rd besides this big deal that was going to make them a lot of money. One of the things they had to celebrate was that Eric's business was doing great. Can we have slide 3? Eric worked as a stonemason, and you're going to see this is 2020. This isn't even the year before he died. So his income kept going up and up. But he declared to the IRS that he made over $750,000.
And that was his money that he was graciously giving her an allowance just because he married her. Remember, we just looked at the timeline, and back in 2020 is when he was making more money and she started stealing. He had already realized. That's why I wanted to go over that timeline earlier, because I didn't realize that 2 years before she took his life, she was already stealing and plotting, and he knew it. He knew that long before, and he didn't leave her because he didn't want to leave his children to have 2 homes. He's a stand-up guy. Everything about Eric Richins says he's a stand-up guy, and she took advantage of him, period.
That year. That was just in 1 year of what Eric was bringing into their marriage and their family. They also lived in a beautiful home. Slide 4.
Yeah, you're right.
It was a beautiful home. They got married in that home. That home was half Kouri's. That's how it works in marriage. You get half of a home as soon as you live in it. They also had a 2-story garage that you can kind of see in that picture a little bit back from the house. And it was filled, slide 5. It was filled with exotic animals. Eric was a huge hunter. He went on trips all over the world. They had the kind of money that they were blessed with. He could travel to Africa and travel to Mexico, which he did 2 weeks before he died. He was in Mexico hunting an exotic sheep, actually. They had four-wheelers. They had lots of vehicles. They had snowmobiles and ATVs and ski equipment. They were very blessed. They had a lot.
They were blessed. They did have a lot. And why did she have to take it that far? Oh, you're trying to say she didn't do that. As she sits there. I mean, I don't think any jury's going to believe any of this, but this is ridiculous. I don't see what defense they're even trying to use here. What?
They also had a wonderful family. Slide 6. The one thing that I don't think anybody in this courtroom is ever going to challenge, us included, is that Eric and Kouri adored their boys. They were their world. They were in that place that those of us who've had kids have all been in, where you spend your days driving them around to soccer and all their activities, and they're just the center of your world. And that's how both of these parents felt about their kids. They loved them a lot. And what's more important is that the boys adored their father.
How's your teeth whitening going there, Miss Kouri Richins? Over here, her teeth are shiny and bright. And she asked Sky Lazaro to give her some white strips in jail. Excuse me. You've been in jail for quite some time. She's worried about her teeth over there, right? Look at her.
Adored them. Adored him. And Kouri knew that about her sons and about her family. Their marriage had survived through some rough times, and you're going to hear about that. Like any marriage, it wasn't a perfect marriage. They'd gone through a really bad year where they both contemplated divorce, and they did what a lot of couples do. They went to marriage counseling, they worked it out, and they decided to stick it out, and they did. You're going to hear testimony from one of Eric's closest friends.
She said, we're going to counseling while I steal all your money from behind you. That's what we're doing.
In the few weeks before Eric died, he and Kouri were the happiest together that he'd ever seen them. And you're going to hear that from one of Eric's closest friends.
Right.
Now, on March 3rd, Eric started sending excited texts before their celebration to Kouri, saying, hey, let's get together. Let's have some celebratory shots. Slide 7, please.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. You guys aren't going to be able to read that. It's really small. But it basically says, thank you. You want to grab lunch today with a celebratory shot? that was Kouri saying she can't, that she has other plans. But he's excited. He wants to celebrate about the big closing. When Eric got home the evening of March 3rd, after he'd been out at the property spreading the gravel, he got home and they all had dinner together as a family. Kouri's mom dropped by. They visited with her mom. Her mom had actually been out at the property the same day with a carpenter trying to get some bids and get it ready to start getting it fixed up. Kouri's mom left. They tucked their boys into bed. And around 9 o'clock, they decided to have their celebratory shot. A friend.
Guys, I think she's going to get along just fine in prison. I really do think that she's probably going to get the LWOP. If she doesn't get LWOP in this case, we still got the financial crimes. But she seems like one of those evil chameleons that can go anywhere and hustle anybody, right? She's probably already in jail, somebody being someone's prison bitch. Right, I'm just saying. You look at her and remember when if she ever has a parole hearing or we hear about her, watch how she drastically changes. She's already changed quite a bit from the 4 years ago that we've seen her, that we saw her on that show, right? And her book.
And had given them a gift of some of those. I'm sure you guys have seen them. Those copper Moscow Mule cups that you make like in breweries and in bars.
Oh, yeah,
and they decided to try out their new cups. So Kouri made what's called a Moscow Mule. And they also had a little shot, which is Eric's idea, of a little lemon drop. They had their drinks. They actually didn't finish them.
Well, let's victim blame just a little bit more, okay?
And set the cups in the sink at the house, right there.
Yeah.
Around 9:30, they were getting ready to go to bed. And they heard one of the children who suffered from something called night terrors, where they scream out, they have nightmares. One of the children was crying out. So Kouri went to sleep with her son around 9:30 that night.
No.
You're going to hear.
No, we're only listening to opening statements. I'm not sure if she can get life without the possibility of parole. They took the death penalty off the table quite some time ago. So I'm assuming they're going to try to charge her with the highest, which would be life without the possibility of parole. But she still has another case, all right? She still has another case, and that's going to be for the forgery and the fraud and all that. This right now was for the procurement of drugs and the death of her husband, Eric Richins, all right? But that lawyer keeps trying to say, oh, they weren't hurting the husband. They had all these toys and he drank an extra. I mean, it's like, I feel like a victim blaming is going on.
The police, Kouri also told the police the day that they came to the house that she believed Eric might have had what we call a marijuana gummy. You're going to hear Eric loved marijuana gummies. He used them a lot. And the police found a whole bunch of them in the house, in his things, in his clothes, in his closet. You know, he was a marijuana gummy user. Slide 8.
Who cares?
These are all gummies that the police found in Eric's things. Some of them, you can tell, had commercial bags where he bought them from dispensaries. Some were in clear bags that he bought from somewhere else, the location unknown. So you take it down. So as they're getting ready to go to bed, oh, you're going to hear that after Kouri left the room, Eric was on his phone, and he was talking to a friend named Scott Wagner. And you're going to hear that Scott Wagner talked to him at 10 o'clock that night. That when Scott Wagner talked to him, he did not sound drunk.
That's like the weakest thing I've ever heard in my life, right? Who cares about gummies? I can walk to 7-Eleven right now and get some gummies from 7-Eleven. I mean, this has got to be a joke, right? That's her defense. How did this prosecutor bring in the other charges if they aren't part of the case? They didn't. We gave the charges at the beginning when you came in, Wyatt. I actually read the charges from the charging document. So it doesn't mean that they're not gonna talk about it. There's certain things that they can bring in and talk about as evidence that's not going towards a charge. It just depends what the judge says. So yeah, it's a weak defense, a weak ass defense. Well, yeah, she bought some, you might as well just say, yeah, we went to 7-Eleven and got a Red Bull and some gummies, and I think he overexerted himself. He's cold. Yeah, all right, lady. Let's keep going.
Did not sound high. He did not sound like he was on fentanyl or anything else.
Does anyone know what it sounds like when somebody's on fentanyl? How about the fact that he died? And by the time she even called 911, he was already cold and stiff. Who knows how long he had been dead?
That there was no sound of the wife or children in the background, that he was alert, that he was having a totally normal conversation with Scott, and this was at 10 p.m. Shortly after 10 p.m., you're going to hear, forgot to mention, when Kouri left the bedroom, she has always maintained from beginning to end that she left her phone in the room, in the charger, next to her bed, which we all do at night when we're about to go to bed, we charge our phones. Nothing unusual there. After 10 o'clock, around 10:30, so this is an hour after Kouri's left the bedroom and is in with her son, Kouri's phone is unlocked and moves just a few feet. Now you're going to hear Kouri's friends in this trial and some other people testify that Eric was always checking Kouri's phone. And you can kind of see why he probably was doing that. Based on what you've already heard from the state. Maybe he had good reasons, but he checked her phone a lot.
Yeah, I didn't even realize. I'm in California, and in California, you can literally walk into 7-Eleven or any store and buy gummies, and now they have mushroom bars. You can literally go in there and say, I want to eat some mushrooms today, and you can buy them right at the local store. So that's why I find it funny what they're trying to make that claim. But yeah, you're right. That's true. If it's in Utah, and also it's a big no-no to Mormons to be doing that. So she's trying to make him look bad, right? Gummy bears and Swiss rolls.
So we know we did that at about 10:30 because we have proof that the phone opened and closed. Moved a short distance, like maybe walking around the bedroom, and then closed again. And that is the last thing we know for sure that Eric did the night that he died. Sometime after that, we don't know exactly when Eric died. Slide 9. When Eric died, his app.
Why does she look like she's like deer in headlights the whole time? She looks like she is shitting her pants, literally. She's probably gonna look like that the whole time too.
Apple Watch was hanging on a charger, nice and neat. His phone was in a charger on the nightstand. He was lying in his underwear, like when you go to bed, and he was on his back on his side of the bed. So it appears pretty clear that Eric went to bed and fell asleep and died in his sleep. You're also going to hear, slide 10, that there was an empty pill bottle right next to him in his nightstand. And I want you to pay careful attention to this. The empty pill bottle expired in 2016. Made out to him for pain pills.
All right, the defense are in their opening statement trying to evoke a little emotion with that 911 call, and then
All right, we already heard that.
So those 6 hours, ladies and gentlemen, between 9 p.m.
And guys, we might just have to hop back tomorrow. I have other cases to cover, but we might have to get into the Nancy Guthrie stuff. We're on week 4, and they're just telling us now that the two people that we put side by side originally, they're saying it's the same person on different nights, which I don't know why they wouldn't have said that before. Maybe not to waste resources where people think it's two different people. But yeah, the breaking news in the Nancy Guthrie case is that the masked photos were taken on different days. So that person that we thought was two people is allegedly the same person on a different night. So, but I mean, we're not going to kind of want to take away from this case, and I will come back to that. But I mean, there's no other breaking news. They haven't found her. We're in week 4. Nobody's paid a ransom. I don't think there are any other anything's going on, right? All right, let's just continue this. But we probably will have to get back into it. Why didn't they just say that to see this all over the place? All right.
At 3 a.m., somewhere in that time, Eric Richins died. Somewhere in that time, he ingested a fatal dose of fentanyl. What you will never hear after 4 years of investigation, where as recently as 2 weeks ago, they were back searching that house. After 4 years of investigation and 5 weeks of this trial, you know what you're never going to hear is how that fentanyl got inside of him, because there's zero evidence of that.
There's zero evidence in that. He had a ton of fentanyl. What do you mean there's zero evidence? 1 + 1 still equals 2, guys. What's up, Kelly Bunny in West Portland? How you doing there? This case, that case is all over the place. I can cover it every single day, but we need other coverage. But I probably will have to go back to it tomorrow because it just got real interesting. Again, I don't think we're going to be bringing Nancy Guthrie home alive. We're in the 4th week.
To this day, slide 11, please. You're going to see that his death certificate. Oh, that's the wrong thing, Katie. Just take it down. Sorry about that. That's the wrong thing. His death certificate reads that the manner of his death is still unknown to this day. You're going to hear testimony that a medical examiner has the ability to declare the manner of someone's death. It can be homicide, it can be suicide, it can be accidental overdose, it can be murder, it can be anything. To this day,
remember, the burden of proof is on the prosecution. The defense doesn't have that burden of proof. The defense can literally just say this weak ass opening statement, not have anybody come up as a witness, never have her testify, and just close up shop. So we're gonna see what happens. They predict it's gonna be a month, and I don't know how. I don't know. I wonder who's on the witness list, etc.
Medical examiner, the professional that's the head of declaring how people die in the state of Utah, has never been able to determine the manner of Eric Richins' death. Now, you're going to hear first responders and law enforcement tell you that no fentanyl was found in the bedroom the night of his death. But you're also going to hear them that they didn't search for it. You know, we've all seen the TV shows, the crime shows. What do you do if there's a murder, right? If you think there's a murder, tape it off. No one gets in or out. It becomes a crime scene. You search everything. You search the closet. You search the bathroom. You search the vehicles. You search the house. You search the office. They didn't do that. All kinds of friends and family, and you're going to see video of all the people that were in the house that day. There was no restrictions on anybody. And guess what was sitting in the sink? The cups. They were sitting there. They were never taken. They were never tested. Nothing. The nanny ended up putting them in the dishwasher the next morning, and they still had fluid in them. You're going to hear the day after Eric died. Kouri, or I'm sorry, not the day after, day of. They started interviewing Kouri over and over and over again about what happened that night. You're going to hear for yourselves that her explanation of what happened that night has never changed from that call you just listened to. As far as the timing, as far as what happened, never. Law enforcement secretly recorded her phone conversations.
Well, yeah, I mean, the cause of his death was a fentanyl overdose, and it didn't magically get there, and nobody believes that he was taking that himself. Nobody believes that he went to Mexico and bought some gummies that had fentanyl in it. That's what the jurors are going to decide, and I don't think they're going to decide against it. All right. All right, thank you. I'm Clara. I'll report on it as soon as I can, but I think the big breaking news right now, without all you guys leaving, because I want to finish this, is the fact that they're confirming he was there on 2 different days instead of being one time. So instead of everyone using resources and calling in and saying, I know that guy, and there's a second person, they didn't just say, oh, it was on 2 different dates. I'm telling you, Pima County, I'll leave that up for a minute. It's a train wreck. All right. Yes, she does. She looks like she's a victim. And you guys, we're all friends here. Come on. Fact that the kidnapper. Yeah, that it was. That's what they're trying to say. Maybe the week before that it was the same person. But I mean, there's no real. That's the breaking news right now. Is that they're saying instead of us thinking it's 2 people, it's 1 person that went back prior to and then that night. So anyway, that's my episode on the Nancy Guthrie case. Let's finish this
for over a year after this incident. 2 years later, listening in to conversations with her family to see if her story about what happened that night ever altered, ever changed. You're going to hear it never changed.
Yes.
You're going to hear that before Eric's body was even taken out of their bedroom, Kouri was told the body was going to a morgue for an autopsy. So within an hour of the cops getting there, she knew there was going to be an autopsy of his body. And what happens when you have an autopsy? You figure out how someone died. That's what doctors do. They test your blood, test your bodily tissues.
Now, I do got to tell you, if there's one thing that gets her a lesser charge, Bratty. Oh, what's up? I'm glad this is your first time listening to this case. I'm glad you're interested. They screwed up on the glass by not checking it. You're 110% right. If anything happens and Kouri Richins gets a lesser charge on the actual murder of Eric Richins, it's going to be because they didn't test that damn glass. All right, but I don't think the jury's as dumb as they think.
So she knew that. But did she tell the police or the medical responders or the EMS, hey guys, you might want to check for fentanyl? My husband uses it all the time. Did she do that? Because with one sentence, she could have taken all suspicion off her and made this about a drug overdose. But she didn't.
Why she did it? Because he didn't. That's outrageous. There's no way she could ever prove that. And look at her face while she's saying that. She knows damn well that nobody would believe that he's a freaking pill head or fentanyl user or into hard drugs. No way, no how. When you have a man like this that's consistently doing what they're doing, providing for the family day in and day out on the same time, people know. And they know that she was also trying to use that walk the dog letter to insinuate that he does use. And they're going to read that letter and say, okay, now we see what you're trying to push. But absolutely not. Eric, in my opinion, Eric Richins was no kind of drug user. This is ridiculous. This is a ridiculous defense, in my opinion.
Matter of fact, she could have staged a whole drug overdose scene with fentanyl pills on his stomach and everything all over the place and say, gosh, I tried to get him in rehab for years and I couldn't.
Why not just get hookers while you're at it? Why don't we just get a cake and put some hookers and let them jump out and get a massage parlor while you're at it? Let's get lap dances too. And we'll put some lines out and say, well, he was doing lines of coke off of her ass crack too. Why not? What the heck? Oh my
But she didn't. And you know why? Because she told her truth. She told her truth over and over again, and it's exactly what she told that 911 operator that you just heard, and you're going to hear over and over in trial. I don't know what happened. Now you're going to hear that Eric Richins' family simply could not accept that. They needed someone or something to blame for losing someone they loved that wasn't Eric himself. And that's
let's do hookers and get some blow and fentanyl. Yeah, that's the party. We can celebrate not being able to pay for this house. Sounds good to me. Let's go. That's what she's making it sound like.
Totally understandable. No family ever wants to believe that behind closed doors, someone they love is using drugs. No one wants to believe that. But the family's need to make sense of Eric's death went way beyond what you would expect a normal grieving family to go through. You will hear that as the detective arrived at the house, Eric's sisters spoke with the detective in the driveway. This is before anyone in the house knows how Eric died. If he had a heart attack, if he had an aneurysm, a lot of people were talking about aneurysms at the scene, and you're going to hear that. Nobody knew yet how he died. The sisters were telling the police Kouri probably did this. Kouri probably did this day one.
And rightfully so. She went and drilled out his safe, stole the cash, and punched the sister either in the neck or the face. I mean, this Home Depot chick that came from Home Depot, it's like you can't take the hood out of, what's the saying? You can take the boy out of the hood, but you can't take the hood out of the boy. There you go. You can take the Home Depot out of her, but you can't. Same thing. She's nothing. And she caused all this, and this is a ridiculous defense. I'm kind of glad for it, though.
His sister Katie tells the police, and you're going to hear her testify about this, that Kouri had recently found out that Eric had put all their assets in a trust, and that Katie was in charge of the trust. She's going to say, I'm in charge, and that Kouri didn't like that. She told that to the police at the scene. So Kouri already knew before Eric ever died that his assets were protected in a trust and didn't automatically come to her if he died, that there were legal things you had to go through. You're going to hear that it didn't stop there. The Richins family hired a private investigator, and you're going to see how much they paid that private investigator. And it's almost $100,000. And they paid that investigator to spend every waking minute digging up as much dirt as he possibly could on Kouri Richins to try to implicate her in Eric's death.
Isn't that the smart thing to do? What?
Even though the state already had all the evidence from the scene that night that would show what happened in those 6 hours, right? The investigator goes looking for skeletons in the closet. And boy, did he find some. You're going to hear that after an exhaustive private investigation into every single thing about Kouri Richins' life.
That has got to be why we didn't know about her paramour, or what they call paramour, because once Private Eye started digging into it, they found all this stuff out. Good night to everybody. Good night, Mama Pearl. If you're going to sleep, my day isn't even halfway over. Well, it's at least halfway over.
He uncovered plenty of things that I'm quite sure she's not proud of. She's not.
All right, defense opening statement there. We're going to hear more of that on the other side of the break. In court.
She's going to say she's not proud of having an affair. Oh, we're almost done, guys. I appreciate you guys for staying with me here.
If she bounced checks, if she borrowed too much, if she didn't borrow enough, if she borrowed wisely, if she was too risky in her business, you're going to hear all of that.
She's a cheater and a thief, but she's not a murderer. How many times have we heard that from a defense? How many times from a defense, especially with the man that cheats on his wife? How about Scott Peterson? He might be a liar and he might be a cheater, but he's no killer. Okay.
None of that has anything to do with those 6 hours, but you're going to sit through it and you're going to listen to all of it. And you're going to hear testimony about her most intimate personal and business affairs going back years before Eric died.
Good night.
The family and the private investigator even became convinced that Kouri had tried to kill Eric before, on Valentine's Day, when he had an allergic reaction to a sandwich, drank some Benadryl, may or may not have taken an EpiPen shot, took a 2-hour nap, and then drove his kids to soccer. That's the evidence you're going to hear about Valentine's Day. You're going to hear that he had discussed with Kouri that he was going to drive the kids to soccer. So they're asking you to believe that she secretly put narcotics in her husband's food right before he's going to drive the 3 things that matter the most to her in the world to soccer. You're going to hear that that this incident wasn't even a blip to Eric. He had a professional allergy doctor that he saw very shortly after this incident. He never even brought this up. Never even talked about it with his doctor. You're going to hear that he laughed about it with one of Kouri's friends who visited shortly after. He thought it was funny. Interestingly, you're also going to hear that people who use oxycodone or hydrocodone, like that bottle said, also tend to have allergic reactions. They can have very similar symptoms if you use pain pills to the symptoms described of what Eric experienced on Valentine's Day. Here's what you're not going to see in this trial. You're not going to see one single bit of evidence showing what was in that sandwich, if you went to a doctor, if you did any test run, because you didn't. No evidence at all.
Of course, you're not going to see any evidence, but you're going to see the evidence that shows he thinks that she was trying to poison him, and that's good enough. And I hope that you guys are all going to keep up on this. I may update if something interesting happens, or of course the verdict, something like that. But I mean, it seems like everybody that's watching this or covering it's already watching it and covering it during the day or somewhere else. So, it's just one of those cases. I guess on Monday we go through, and then tomorrow we pick up something that's breaking. People forgot about the trials, huh?
Now, the family's investigator regularly updated law enforcement on his investigation.
And rightfully so. What's the problem with that?
He sent them everything he found. He sent them witnesses to interview. He sent them interviews he did of the witnesses first. You're going to hear this very same private investigator took Eric's computer before the police got it and had it for a long time in his possession, looking through all of Eric's computer. You're also going to hear Eric's family went and hired experts. They hired experts in toxicology, in finances, in handwriting analysis, paid them all a bunch of money.
Good.
And now those same people that the family hired are going to appear here as witnesses for the state to testify against Kouri. You're going to hear that the family had constant communications with the prosecution team right up until they decided to charge Kouri a year later. Now, as you've already heard from this,
Courtney Clenny's trial, I think, starts in I think they said it starts in July or June. So I just kind of put these in order of timing. I know you guys wanted me to cover that as well. Yeah, a lot of people, I need a break from that too. It's driving me nuts. And also, there's other cases that need to be covered. The victim in this case is the entire Richins family, and not including her. It's going to be those 3 children and his parents, and the company that he was running and his friends. Those are the victims. And the children, we obviously don't want to know who they are. We don't want them on TV, but those are the children that don't get to be with their mother now or their father because of what she allegedly did.
Prosecutor, they're going to spend weeks in this trial trying to convince you that Kouri had reasons to kill her husband because they can't show you that she did kill her husband. You're not going to hear a single one of Eric's family, Kouri's investors, Kouri's friends, her lover, her accountant, her broker, her lawyer, her marriage counselor, her accountants, her husband's friends, her husband's coworkers. Not one of those people is ever going to be able to tell you what happened in those 6 hours. Not one of them. You're going to hear me ask each one of them in this trial, do you know whether or not Eric Richins knowingly ingested fentanyl? Do you know whether he accidentally ingested fentanyl thinking he was taking another kind of pill and it had fentanyl in it and he took it and accidentally ingested it? Do you know whether he mixed fentanyl with alcohol after Kouri went to sleep? The answer every single time from every single one of these witnesses is going to be no. Now here's what you will hear. You will hear that Eric suffered from pain a lot. That he suffered from knee and back pain related to his work. He did hard work. He was a stonemason, lifting heavy stones. And he also was a huge outdoorsman. He was hiking, snowmobiling, skiing, hunting, and he had pain in his back and his knees from that kind of activity.
Okay, and a lot of other people do too. So you think that his weed gummies were doing that? And I mean, if the jury is looking at her at all, which I'm sure they're paying attention, guys, you got to act a certain way during a trial. There's certain things that you have to put a show on. I mean, trials are a show. Whoever puts on the best show wins. And thus far, I mean, she's just making herself look guiltier and guiltier by how she looks. And I'm surprised because in a lot of the other views when I watched her in court, they did not have that view on her face. They had it sideways and she would hide her face quite a bit. So I am glad that we're able to not have to see drawings, but boy, does she look guilty, in my opinion.
He also had been diagnosed with Lyme disease. He believed he had it, and he claimed to people that were very close to him that he suffered with intense bouts of pain that he believed was related to Lyme disease. Oh. But this is a man's man, this guy. He's a hunter. He's a macho guy, right? He didn't want to show weakness. He didn't want people to know he was suffering. He didn't share that with a lot of people. You're going to hear that Eric was so dependent on the drugs like the gummies that gave him relief from his pain that he would even take it and smuggle it in his luggage when he went on trips out of the country and out of the continental United States.
He would smuggle gummies. Oh my goodness. Can you believe that? All they're doing is trying to victim blame at this point. And yeah, what about the other 3 times that she tried to? They are charging her for the Valentine's Day one, by the way. The one that she tried to pull on Valentine's Day. She got charges for those. We'll see if she gets convicted on them.
Got to go through TSA. That's how much he needed that relief.
Who cares? Look at her.
Now you're going to hear on one of the calls that they were recording when Kouri was talking to her family. She tells her family that she purchased pain pills for Eric at his request. She purchased them from a woman named Carmen that she knew who cleaned her properties for her. And she knew Carmen had access to people that had drugs. You will hear that she asked Carmen to get oxycodone. Oxycodone, which is very similar to the hydrocodone that you saw in that pill bottle right there.
Your Honor, apologize. May we approach?
All right, let's bring back in criminal defense attorney.
All right, is that it? Let's finish this and then we can move. She looks so guilty. It's so crazy.
Over the next 5 weeks, so get ready.
Tell me she doesn't look like a deer in headlights the entire time. And we're not supposed to judge defendants. We're not supposed to judge the victims. We're not supposed to judge based on that, but juries absolutely do. So what we're seeing, I hope they're seeing at the same time. We know that's what they're hearing. And you guys do me a favor. If you forgot to hit the like button, do that. Do it on the way in, do it on the way out. And if you see the opportunity to hype any of my videos, please help and hit hype. It's free.
You're going to hear that
right?
Oxycodone is a fairly low dose pain pill that you can get prescriptions for. Most prescriptions for oxycodone are around the range of about 10 milligrams per pill. That's about, if your doctor gives you oxycodone, that's about what you usually get it for. If you want stronger oxycodone, like up to 30 milligrams, you generally either have to have a special prescription from a doctor or you're going to hear that you can get it on the street, right? And the state has talked about this gentleman, Robert Crozier. Robert Crozier sold higher strength oxys, up to 30 milligrams. He's going to testify that back in 2022, before Eric died, that's all he sold was oxy. That he didn't sell fentanyl at that time. It hadn't really got into the country yet, like it is now, right, where it's everywhere. It hadn't really happened yet. He was just selling oxys, and he sold the stronger dose. So
okay, and what?
You're going to hear and you're going to see evidence that Kouri asked Carmen for something stronger, and that Carmen, you're going to hear from Mr. Crozier, purchased 30 milligram oxys from Crozier. Crozier's going to say that is what he sold Carmen Lauber, was 30 milligram.
If she says that, or if she goes against any of the things, then they basically just gave her a deal so that she wouldn't get, and she had a ankle monitor on, so I really hope she doesn't say that. I hope she doesn't say that she didn't back out of it all of a sudden, because there's no other connection with the fentanyl between the house cleaner and her paramour, what they call, and the other guy. This is ridiculous.
Oxy pills. You're also going to hear that in Eric's autopsy, there's no oxy in his system. So the pills that were purchased by Carmen Lauber could not have been the cause of Eric's death. The fentanyl had to come from somewhere else. You're going to hear Carmen.
Maybe it was from that leftover sandwich on Valentine's Day or the day before. You know, he probably was frugal. He needed to save his money, so he ate the rest of that sandwich. I bet it was the sandwich. It's ridiculous. Most ridiculous.
Testifying now that Kouri asked her for fentanyl. But what you're going to hear is that that was not Carmen's original story. That when Carmen was originally interviewed, she said no mention of fentanyl. It was all about oxy. There was no fentanyl. Carmen talks like she doesn't even know what fentanyl is, right? Guess when she changes her testimony? She changes her testimony when the police say, hey, you know what? We caught you. We caught you with drugs. We caught you with guns. And if you don't say what we want you to say, you're going to jail for a really, really long time, federal and state. Well, we're going to give you a ticket. We're going to give you a free ticket to get out of all the trouble you're in. But you got to say Kouri said fentanyl. And she changes her story. You're going to get to evaluate her credibility and what you think of her. You're going to hear that just
so they're going to use that against her.
A few weeks before Eric died, guess where he was?
Look at her.
Mexico. Guess where the fentanyl comes from into this country from? Mexico.
And guess what the walk the dog letter was, guys? The walk the dog letter was telling her brother to make sure when he testifies in court or when he writes a written statement that when he was out there in Mexico with Eric, that they were getting or procuring drugs, that Eric was procuring drugs. So they're trying to pull that in and put those pieces together. So if anybody doesn't know about the walk the dog letter, that's what she's trying to do with that. She's trying to control what the witnesses are going to give a statement of and testify to. All right. Just so you know, she's leading them right to this defense.
Now, after you've listened to all the evidence in this case, after you've looked at all the exhibits, you're going to be asked to determine what happened in that 6 hours. Not the 3 years before, not the 2 years before, not the 1 year before. In those 6 hours, you're going to have to decide if Kouri Richins intentionally and knowingly poisoned secretly her husband, ending the life of the father of her kids, knowing that she was going to cause those little boys to feel pain every day for the rest of their life for the loss of their father, and that she did it for money. And that she did it for money that was less than what she was about to make on one of her own deals. For way less than what Eric Richins would have earned over the next 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. Way less than you knew she was guaranteed to get because she knew about the existence of the trust. She knew there's no guarantee.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, folks. I don't think that anything came of that. I don't think charges or anything came. Here's the problem with the walk the dog letter. You can't interpret what you think she means. You could only tell someone what you're interpreting. That would be her saying walk the dog means to do this or that. And she said that letter was supposed to go to her attorney and it was with her attorney paperwork. So she didn't get any other charges against her. But the whole thing was, can we bring that walk the dog letter into trial and let the jury know about it, right? I say guilty too. We're almost done here, guys. I know. We got
on the assets or the home, right? Finally, you're going to be asked to determine whether or not the sandwich incident was an attempt to commit a murder. That's going to be an easy one for you. You're going to be asked to whether she lied to the life insurance companies. And I presume the state's going to argue that the lie was that she didn't cause his death. Because if you cause someone's death, you can't get the life insurance. So I guess that's what they're saying the fraud is.
She's gonna play dumb. All right, so we heard the opening statement, guys. We've been here for a while. But I can't believe we've been here 3 hours. I thought this was gonna be a quick like hour and a half. It's gonna tell you about the case and move on. But well, now I'm all caught up too, and I could listen to the trial and see what what F shit goes around. Well, you guys, thank you for. I know she is so guilty. I can't even believe how much evidence that we've already saw and heard on day one. Now, if you guys came in here late, you can go back and rewatch. It'll basically get you caught up, and then you can watch the rest of the trial based on everything that I've told you today, since we did 3 hours. But I agree 100%, Carly. She is so guilty. But the biggest takeaways today is what they're charging her with, and what they're not charging her with is any of the fraud. So no matter what she gets, guys, don't worry. She's going to be like Murdaugh. She has to go back or Lori Vallow, go back for another trial for the fraud crimes and stealing money, etc. All right. So justice for Eric Richins. And let's pray that Kouri Richins gets the LWOP. They took the death penalty off the table, but that is one sneaky, evil woman, and I don't think she ever belongs on the streets again. All right, so thank you guys for being here. I hope we can get this StreamYard updated at some point. Emmett, I'm glad you're here. Better late than never. I've been here for a really long time, but you guys have a wonderful night. I love you. Happy Monday. Let's get through this week in a powerful way that's going to be positive. All right, keep it powerful. Keep it positive and do better every day. And let's get you convicted. All right, guys, I'll see you tomorrow with coverage from something different. I'm going to try to bring you guys something really juicy tomorrow. And hopefully it's going to hit that mark of what you were looking to watch. So until then, see you tomorrow, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 7 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. Good night, everybody. See you soon. Have a good night.
Guilty of crime.
I want to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed my content, please share this video, like, and subscribe. You can also follow me over at Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, or Gmail. If you'd like to donate to my channel, you can use Cash App or Venmo or PayPal. Thank you very much in advance. Guilty of crime.
Are you guilty of crime?